Hello, everyone, and welcome back to. Actually, this isn't Tub Takes. Wait a second. Well, today we have a special episode of the podcast video. I don't know what it is. Thank you, first off, for 5K subscribers on YouTube. I really appreciate it. So this is we're calling this the 5K special, and I'm joined by two special guests as we compare every VGC player to an NBA player today. I'm joined by the two biggest basketball fans I know. Raghav, how are you doing?
Dude, I'm doing great. It's been so long since I've been on the channel. Kind of miss the Tub Nation vibe, the camaraderie in this tub full of piss right now.
Yeah, well, you're always welcome on the channel. And I guess the first question I got to ask is, for all the fans out there, what is your favorite NBA team and who is your favorite NBA player of all time?
Okay, I mean, I'm from the Bay Area, so y'all might hate me, but the Warriors are my favorite team, and Steph Curry is my favorite player ever. But those who know me and who are my Discord friends know that Jamal Murray was my profile picture for years. So he's kind of my second favorite player.
It's true. I remember that. And then, of course, we got Michael Zhang, Eternal Snowman. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. Excited to do some NBA comparisons. We always talk about it, just like in chat, for fun and stuff. So it's cool to have an official stream about it, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Wait,
spent.
who's your favorite team and player?
Yeah, who's your favorite team and player?
All right. So growing up, I was a Lakers fan. I grew up in SoCal, so I was a Lakers fan during the Kobe era, during his second championship run. My favorite player during that era was Derek Fisher, actually. And so I really liked watching that team back in the day. But then I kind of fell off basketball for a little bit when I moved away from the States. And then I started watching again when I came back. And Lakers were not that good, but I really liked that young team. I really liked Kyle Kuzma during that era. And then they all traded away all their young players for LeBron, and then I hated the Lakers. And then I became a Mavericks fan. And so Luca's my favorite player right now.
Let's go.
So yeah.
Yeah. I'm outnumbered here, bro.
Yeah, yep. I got the Luka jersey on. Oh yeah, you know it.
You know what's
Hell yeah.
what's funny is that I got into basketball when I moved to India, actually, not when I was living in the US. Like, I moved to India when I was around 7 or 8 till I was like 13. And so I got into basketball when I was like maybe 10 or 11. And back then, KD was my favorite player. I was a huge OKC fan. And then I moved to the Bay, and he joined the Warriors, and I was like, nah, that's fucked up. I can't stand him anymore.
Oh man, so you didn't like the fact that that the tweet had your face and KD, huh?
I actually stopped watching basketball for like specifically the 2 back-to-back rings we had with KD because I was like, this is just too easy.
That's crazy.
How big is the NBA in India? It is growing super fast. When I was there was like one game on every morning, and I would wake up at like 5 a.m. to watch the NBA playoffs. Nowadays there's like 2 or 3 games on every day. It's growing a lot.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, fun fact, Adi and I were in the same city in India at around the same time, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 Mavs fans, the bias. I wanted to get ahead of that right off the bat, make sure everyone knew where we were coming from. But yeah, I guess let's just jump into it. So I've got a little spiel that I want to go into because it wouldn't be it wouldn't be an Adi stream without an Adi rant, right? So I want to talk about NBA history, VGC history, and why VGC is in the late 80s of NBA history.
Oh, I literally had this exact thought this morning. Like I didn't know that you had this prepped, but I'll talk about it after you talk about it.
Yeah. So the NBA started out obviously startup league, not very big. Had the what's his name? George Mikan era where the Minneapolis Lakers were dominating.
Drill.
And then I did that practice. You can see here where the 24-second shot clock was adopted. And so we had you had the Bill Russell era where he won 10 championships in 11 years. And Wilt Chamberlain.
He won 11.
11 championships? Oh
11
my god.
championships. 11 and 12 years, I think. Or 11 and 13 maybe.
Oh my god. Yeah. So he won a bunch of championships, and then after that, there was sort of this like dark era of the NBA where you had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar as the face of the league, but he was not a very marketable star. He was very outspoken, and therefore, people, and he was black, and people were very racist back then, so the people weren't a fan of him. Dr. J was the
It's
other
not
superstar.
marketable.
It's true. And then also on top of that, there was the ABA. They were competing with the ABA, and there was a lot of drug use in the NBA. And so the 70s and 80s, the NBA developed this sort of poor reputation, for better or for worse. And so it wasn't super televised, anything like that. It wasn't super marketable. And then the early 80s came around. David Stern became commissioner, and that's usually considered the turning point in NBA history. In 1984, when David Stern became commissioner, when the Showtime Lakers started, when Larry Bird started, and that rivalry was super, super marketable. They were fantastic. They were faces of the league. David Stern cleaned up the drug problem in the NBA. He started to grow an international audience, right? And then on top of that, soon afterwards, Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley would join, and Hakeem Olajuwon would join, and that was really when the NBA really took off under David Stern's leadership. And so that is kind of the period in NBA history that I think that we are at, where Jordan has just kind of come into the league, where it's the late 80s, and the league is starting to really become a lot more marketable. Because if you look at VGC history, we also had the olden days where there were the 8 teams in the league, and there were not a ton of players, and and it was just a very different time, right? People were not as good at basketball, just like people were not as good at VGC way back when. And then you had what I think of as sort of the dark eras of VGC, which I look at as like 2016 to 2020. You could probably put the 2022 pandemic season in there as well, where attendance was not very high. You had like 30, 40, 50 person regionals at times. Regionals were struggling to crack 100 players. And I think that looking back, that was some of the most fun I had playing VGC. That was when I started playing VGC. And I think a lot of us look back at that as like the golden era of VGC in terms of play, in terms of how fun it was. In the same way that I would love to have watched basketball in the 70s, watch players like Dr. J and Pistol Pete and Kareem and Wilt, like all those players. I think it'd be really fun, but it was just definitely a lot lower viewership. And now VGC has taken off, right? It is growing, and it is not stopping its growth. And so that's why I kind of think that we are in the late 80s sort of VGC history, or of NBA history for VGC. That's my little spiel. Michael, you said you had something to say about that too.
Yeah. I think, well, I was thinking about this as well, just when making mental comparisons, because in my mind, pre 3DS era, so like the DS era is kind of like the 60s of basketball, or the 50s and 60s of basketball, where like it was not that many players playing, and it was a much smaller community. People, like, it was, there were people who had interest in it, but it was like, when we look back compared to where we are now, it's clear that there's been a big jump since then. And then, in my opinion, the 3DS era is kind of like the late 60s and 70s of basketball, where the 3DS era, like, especially towards the end, it was starting to get to a point where there weren't that many, like, it was a lot less popular, like you said. And then also it just didn't, like, it was just like kind of in the middle, in between era, like popular eras kind of. And then in my opinion, like the Switch boom, where so many more people joined VGC after basically like Sword and Shield launched. We had like a huge regional at Dallas 2020, and obviously it slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, but I think and then that momentum carried a little bit into Scarlet and Violet, and we've just had huge regionals throughout all of like the Switch era. Basically, all the regionals have been a lot bigger, and now going into Gen 9, like it was much, much bigger. And so then, in my opinion, that's kind of where like the first big boom in the NBA, which was the Magic and Bird era, the 80s and 90s, is where we kind of are right now. And to me, that contextualized a few things that we'll talk about later. But yeah, that was what I wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
I agree with where both of you are kind of at in this era comparison, because I think there's like two major things to reconcile with like Pokemon and basketball. That, one is that the NBA is like so much older of an organization, so much more history, and the other thing is it's a team sport. And so those two things are like inherently kind of incompatible. So I think that, like, while I agree that we're kind of in this 80s era of like, expansion, the game's growing, I also think that VGC is also more international, and kind of the swag that some of the newer players have, are really similar to like some of the modern players we have today too. So I think there's still gonna be like a lot of players who I'm like, nah, that's Jalen Brunson or like that's blank. Even though I do agree that like if we were to compare eras, it'd be the '80s right now.
And also
Right.
part of that
I also
is we don't know as many older players.
yeah
We
yeah
know all the players in the NBA right not all the players, but we know most of the players in the NBA right now. It's easier to make comparisons to players we watched play than players we never got to watch play.
I've seen them all, so
of course.
yeah. Me and Wilt go way back. I was there for the 100-point game.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah. And so that is the perfect segue into the first player that we got to talk about whenever you're talking about VGC history, which is of course Rizzo, who is the 3-time world champion, 2009 to 2011 world champ. And I think that we all had similar thoughts on this, but Michael, I know you had something to say, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I think, like I said earlier, when we were talking about eras, to me the DS era when Ray Rizzo was really dominant was really the era before we like a lot of players like knew what they were doing and like I still say this about like in the NBA. I think great players will always be great no matter the era that they play in, but we do have to say that like as the general player base is going to get better in as like time goes on. So Ray Rizzo would probably still be a great player if he was still playing today. Like I know he tried to qualify, but like there were some external circumstances that kind of prevented him from doing so last year. But I think even if he was to compete today, like he would still be a great player, and especially if it was like in his prime where he would actually be like grinding and playing the game. But it would still a little bit diminish his like I don't want to say like diminish, but like his accomplishments of being a 3-time world champion doesn't have the same weight as if he were to do it today, basically. And so I compare him a lot to Bill Russell, where 11 championships are a lot of championships back in the day. But if you ask anybody who's like a big NBA fan, nobody's going to say Bill Russell's their GOAT. And I mean, maybe you find some super old head that says that. But in general, I think he's more comparable to Bill Russell is back then, because remember, we don't have a LeBron yet. In my opinion, we don't have a LeBron yet in the VGC community. So we don't have a LeBron or a Jordan, and we'll get to that later when we talk about the next player. But in my opinion, Ray Rizzo is most closely compared to Bill Russell.
Raghav, you got thoughts?
I mean, I agree with the reasons of like, he's playing against plumbers and shit, but I think the difference between Ray and Bill is that like Bill was he was like one of the best players, if not the best player in his time, and he was like a defensive menace. But I think Ray Rizzo's peak is similar to like Jordan level to me, because I think, dude, that guy was not just like winning worlds, he was changing the meta like entirely. Like he was building shit that like, completely changed the game. The other thing is that like even though it was against plumbers, winning 3 times in a row is like nobody else did that. Like he had to play Wolfe in 2012 and 2011, right? Top 8 and then in finals. Like I think that I personally would give him more of like a Kareem or Jordan. Kareem because he's older, and I still think the league was a little weaker then. But I also do feel, this is a hot take because I'm not a Jordan truther, I think Jordan's worse than LeBron. I don't think Jordan's the GOAT. I think the league was a little watered down for a little bit, and I think the rules were different too for Jordan. So I think the Rizzo comp is not terrible.
I respect it. I think that but I agree with Michael. I had Bill Russell on my list, and I think part of it is just because the way that we look at Bill Russell is sort of the way that we look at Ray Rizzo, where Bill Russell is sort of like mythological figure from the ancient past of the NBA. That is, it's so like it's incomprehensible to win 11 championships, right? That's never ever going to happen again for one player. It doesn't matter how good you are; it never happens. And that's the same thing with being a 3-time world champion. I don't think we're going to see a 2-time world champion at some point. I don't think we're ever going to see a 3-time world champion in VGC. It's just too difficult. It's just too wild. And I think that's kind of like the same sort of mythos that I look at Ray Rizzo with.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is, have you guys paid attention to his 2014 season? Like that shit was kind of nuts. He tried for like half of it, won 2 regionals, got top 8 at Nats, and then just gave up for no reason. Like, he just, like, I seriously think that if he was in his prime, he would be, like, top, one of the best players in the world, easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but Bill Russell's a really good comparison for sure.
I think Bill Russell would be one of the best players in the world too. So
That's true.
But
that's true. But I don't know.
Yeah, we don't have to make the we don't have to agree. Is what I'm saying. I like this discussion. And Raghav, why I really wanted you on is because Michael and I were talking about this sort of thing at Worlds for like an entire day. So I really wanted a third perspective that wasn't already influenced by our own,
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. And so with that, we got to talk about the next player who is the other person in the GOAT conversation, right? There's only two. It's Ray or it's Wolfe. And so Wolfe, 2016 world champion, as you know, he won NAIC a couple of years ago. He won the U.S. Nationals, I think in 2012, if I recall correctly. And he also has...
And 2011.
2011? And 2011, okay. Both. And then he has a whole boatload of regional wins, the most regional championships of all time in the Masters division. And
9, right?
He has 9.
He also won NAIC in 2019.
Yep. So he's won a lot, but he's only won one world championship, right? And that's always the rings discussion that we always like to have. And so Raghav, I'm gonna let you go first. Who is Wolfe Glick?
Bro, it's LeBron, bro. It's like I think he's LeBron. I disagree with your statement. Well, I don't necessarily disagree. Like, I think that if we decide there hasn't been a LeBron, like the game's too young, then sure, like I think there could be a different comparison. But as you pointed out, we don't have players with multiple world championships other than Ray. So the ring disparity kind of, I think I asked earlier, like we can view certain regional championships and other accolades kind of similar to rings. And when I think about this guy, I do think he's the best VGC player of all time. And part of that is his longevity. He's been doing this forever, similar to LeBron. And he's just been consistent every year. He's won 1 or 2 regionals almost every single season. And to me, that's like LeBron making the finals like 8 years in a row or whatever. So I think that there's a good case for it. I also think it's funny because LeBron has a lot of haters. I think Wolfe has a lot of haters. And LeBron has a lot of Glazers, and Wolfe has a lot of Glazers. So I'm seeing the parallels.
I don't disagree, and I actually pulled up. Sempra had a YouTube thumbnail that had Wolfe and LeBron sharing a little thing. That's where I got the inspiration for my tweet. But Michael, you were gonna say I think it was Kareem, who was the only other player who has the same type of longevity as LeBron. I'm gonna let you talk about Kareem.
Yeah, I think if you make the comparison that Ray is Jordan, then I would say Wolfe being LeBron makes a lot more sense. But for me, I see Ray more as a Bill Russell. So I would see Wolfe, who played kind of like in a later era, although they did play a little at the like overlap a little, but like as a Kareem, his longevity has been incredible. I think he's one of the few players. There has been some players that have really been playing for a long time, but Wolfe has been one of the players that has been great throughout like most of the time that he's been playing. He started off like his first seasons like very dominant, like Kareem did, and then he played like Kareem played very late into his career. He played 20 seasons, I think, or 20 something seasons, and was playing at a high level up until like the last few seasons where he like started to fall off a little bit. But Wolfe has had like great longevity. He has like a lot of although like comparatively, like with rings, he doesn't have as many as like Kareem compared to Bill Russell. You would also not see as much of the he has a bunch of other accolades. So he was previously the scoring champion. He's a 5-time MVP, I think, or 3-time MVP. I don't remember, but like he had a lot of MVPs. And like during his time, he was like very dominant. And also, I think one of the things that I think makes the comparison a little bit more apt is, I guess, I think, no, I guess I'll leave that part out because I think that works better if it's like if you do go with a LeBron and Jordan kind of angle, then I think Wolfe and Ray kind of being both in the GOAT discussion is like more accurate to where we are currently with people talking about the GOAT in VGC. But
I also think that like personality wise and impact wise, he's more of a LeBron because he's like the face of the league. He's like the face of the game, really. And I also think his play style is like he's also not like the most outspoken guy. I don't know.
So okay. So hear me out, because I have a third choice. And so I like the Kareem comparison. My initial thought was it was going to be Kareem because, again, in the context of the GOAT discussion, if you put Ray as Bill Russell, and I really, really like the Bill Russell comparison, then I think that Wolfe is Kareem, and we were talking about time periods, and if you were teleported to the late 80s, I think the GOAT discussion would probably be Bill Russell has 11 rings, and Kareem is the all-time NBA leading scorer, has played 20 seasons. A lot of the discussion revolves around his longevity and his consistency over that time period. And so I think that I like the idea that discussion is the same as the discussion that people probably had back in the 80s for basketball. And Moxie Boosted, thank you for the sub. By the way, if you want to recommend a player, we will get to that player. Oh, you want to know who Derrick Rose is? I have a slide for Derrick Rose. Don't worry. We'll get to that.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that was the discussion that we had at Worlds. But yeah, so I really like the Kareem discussion. I also really like the LeBron discussion. You're right. He did. The other thing about LeBron that you didn't mention is that, much like Wolfe, LeBron did not win right away. He got to the finals and lost back in 2007 with the Cavs. It took him a while to finally get that one championship. And once he started winning, he didn't stop winning. And so I think that's a lot like LeBron. LeBron won an in-season tournament, which is a lot like the Players' Cup, if you ask me. I'm going to use that comparison later. So there's a lot.
He's won every kind of ring, bro, except Depoy.
I like the comparison a lot. But my comparison is actually Michael Jordan. I think Wolfe is the perfect Michael Jordan, and let me tell you why. He is everything is everyone loves LeBron James. Everyone loves LeBron James. Everyone wants to play on Team USA, to hang out with LeBron James. They want to hang out in the offseason with LeBron James. They want to train with LeBron James. They want to play with LeBron James. That's not really true of Jordan, right? You watched maybe you didn't watch The Last Dance, but like people really didn't like Jordan. Fans liked Jordan. Jordan was the face of the league too. Everyone loves Jordan as a viewer, but and he had his haters too, but like he had a ton of fans. But the players didn't really like Jordan that much. And that's kind of the sentiment that I get from the VGC community as well, the competitive community. Wolfe has thrown some like a decent number of like subtle and not so subtle insults at specific players in videos. And that's really, I think, a lot of people dislike that. I know he's thrown it at Tub Nation before. I know that's, contributed to that negative sentiment as well. The 2023 Nats video, the 2020 Collinsville video, I'm not going to go into that. That'd be a whole video on its own. But I think that, a lot of that stems from he's a very passionate player and he's a very competitive player, right? He's probably the most competitive player in all of VGC, has the most competitive drive in all of VGC. There's a couple other players I could list off for there too, but like he is a very, very competitive person. And in terms of personality, right, that is the perfect match for Michael Jordan. I think just like every VGC player has maybe a begrudging respect for Wolfe Glick, every NBA player had a begrudging respect for Michael Jordan. And I think that is the same sort of vibe. Jordan didn't have the longevity that LeBron and Kareem did. I will admit that part of the comparison isn't perfect, but yeah, I think in terms of personality wise, in terms of branding wise, right? Michael Jordan and the way he created his brand and grew his brand and became the first like really, really massive global superstar in the same way that Wolfe has. I think that Jordan is a great comparison for Wolfe.
Okay, I think you're actually completely right. Like, I think like I haven't changed my opinion that he's LeBron in terms of like the reasons why, including like I feel like play style, is like, well, I don't know. I think the reasons you gave are really strong for Michael Jordan. Like the mindset is definitely similar. Like I think Wolfe's a psychopath, and not in like a bad way. Like in a like cutthroat. Like I am gonna do as much as I can. I think he's the king of prep, right? Like, and I think that's why he's better than everyone. Him. Michael Jordan punching Steve Kerr, it could be like 2016 top 4. I don't
know. But so what I will say is that, at least for me, throughout this video, because Wolfe is just like the face of VGC, and a lot of VGC storylines, at least from a fan's perspective, go through Wolfe and players who played with Wolfe and players who worked with Wolfe and used the same team or used different teams or beat him or all that stuff, right? I think I'm going to be using both the LeBron and the Michael Jordan comparison quite a bit when we're talking about other players who are Wolfe adjacent. So just look forward to that. I'm going to start with that right now. Any other thoughts about Wolfe?
I think the Jordan comparison is interesting because I agree in terms of like a mentality perspective. Like as a competitor, I think the respect that he gets from his peers, like it's similar. Like LeBron is kind of more like everyone loves LeBron in the league. They all want to be with LeBron. They respect him a lot as a player, and but also they respect him, or like they stay on the good side of him, and they are all friendly off the court in general. I think Wolf is more like a Kobe or a Jordan in the sense that like he has his friends and he keeps to it, but he mostly keeps it to himself, like in terms of tournaments, and then he's like extremely cutthroat, competitive ness has extreme cutthroat competitiveness, and so in that sense, like I think that's a good comparison. I think from an accolades perspective or historical perspective, it falls apart a little bit, but like in terms of vibes, I definitely get that feeling. So I can understand the sentiment there.
Yeah, I think he has the vibes of MJ, kind of the accolades and era-wise fitting Kareem, and I think personally he fits LeBron for quite a few reasons, including if you establish Rizzo as MJ, because we don't know Ray like that, I think he was also kind of a demon back then. I
No, I
think
mean he
most
was for sure,
people
right?
who weren't around back then, they don't realize how many people were specifically trying to fuck over their like competitors. Like, oh, I'm gonna speed creep him. Oh, I saw a replay of what this guy was using. I'm gonna counter team him. Like, it was nasty back then.
All right. So I think we've got all of our opinions about Wolf out of the way. Maybe not all of them, but at least all the ones we could say on screen. And so
Crazy today.
Holy.
With that, let's talk about the next world champion on our list. We got Eduardo Cunha, who, of course, won the world championships in 2022. He got top 4 at Worlds in 2016. He was the 2019, I believe, Oceania International Champion. He's won, I want to say, 2 regionals. I might be mistaken about that. I don't have that written in front of me. Very, very accomplished player. Anyone got thoughts about Edu?
I have very strong feelings of Edu as Kobe.
Yeah, go for it. I had the same thought.
Okay, I think Edu is Kobe for sure, for 2 reasons, and obviously these are vibes, right? Like, one is the gap between his 2016 run into then to 2020 is kind of like the same as me, is like young Kobe with Shaq got the early ring, and then he had to kind of prove it again later. The other thing is play style wise, like Kobe was definitely a student of MJ, right? Like I think he's like, okay, obviously Kobe chucked a lot of shots. But I think like when you talk about footwork, fundamentals, mid range, like that's Kobe, classic Kobe. I think Edu is one of the cleanest players to ever play this game. Like he's so consistent, and he only takes like the most calculated risks. The other thing is that they both had big scandals. Obviously, Edu is a significantly better person, but there was like a cultural thing there. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so I think he's Kobe for sure. I mean, what do you guys think?
You hit every single bullet point that I had for Edu, so I don't have anything to add to that. That's exactly what I had.
Yeah. What do you think, Michael?
I'm gonna be honest. I know a lot about the NBA. I don't actually know that much about VGC, especially when it comes to outside NA. So I'll defer to you guys on this. I don't really know that much about Edu, so I'll
Okay.
leave it to whatever you guys have to say on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you a little bit of history. So Edu got top 4 at 2016, which I think was his first Worlds.
Mm-hmm.
And before that, he was kind of just like an online ladder guy, but like he was very like hyped among his community. And I think, if I remember correctly, which I think Kobe had a lot of hype coming out of high school too, as a young player.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely, I would say Kobe had more attention on him, but Edu kind of just showed out at a really young age. And he was like one of the few players with Zerndon to actually beat kind of the Billa Marcus Wolf trio. He was just kind of on another level, just with like, again, he just played so clean. He's, I think, one of the most fundamentally sound players, and he's very consistent, like top 16 almost always. And yeah, that's kind of what I would have to say about Edu. He never uses anything super crazy either, but it's always like standard that's super polished or has maybe one thing going for it. So that's kind of just like the basic explanation I would give of Edu as a player. And then yeah, I mean, if you didn't know, like around COVID time, like the community was kind of upset with him because of like a Discord and like just like toxic behavior within a public Discord, basically. And so he took some time away from the community and came back, won the world championships, and I think he's pretty chill right now. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
he's really good right now.
Unlike Kobe, Edu did apologize for what he did, and so I'll definitely that part of the comparison isn't entirely true. What I will say is that Edu remained very popular and had a lot of fans defending him, even during that time where he was, being, had done some bad stuff. But again, I will say again, first off, nowhere near in the same realm as what Kobe did, and secondly, Edu has gone to therapy, done the work, and gotten better, and turned his life around, which I really appreciate. So yeah. I like
to your point. Everyone loves Kobe though too.
But everyone likes Kobe. Yeah, even though everyone brushes over all this stuff that he did that was bad. So yeah, you take the good and the bad, right? And that's what it is. But I really like this comparison as well. And yeah. All right. So with that, we got to keep moving. We got 63 people on this list, and if you sub, you can request an additional player. That if I don't have them, we will name them. But first off, let's keep going through the world champions, and this time we got our current world champion Luca Ceribelli, 2024 world champ. He was runner up at a regional. I don't think he's won a regional, but world champ. That's all that really matters, right? So, does anyone have a good comp for Luca?
I haven't put much thought into it, but I'm feeling like he could be like a D-Wade type figure.
Okay.
Like very early, because he just won, right? And he's super young, and he did kind of have a mentor in like Arash, not that Arash is like Shaq necessarily, but like, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not like D-Wade just did it on his own in 06.
I was to talk about that second point in a second, where he had a mentor in Arash, but I had a different player in mind.
Okay.
Where I had Nikola Jokic. I don't quite have the Arash comparison, but I think that in terms of, obviously they're both European, but also they are just like the best player in the world right now. And that's kind of how I see winning the world championship. We talked about this a little bit. We haven't really clarified this on stream. But the winning an NBA championship is not really the same thing as winning a world championship. I think it's more akin to winning a regional, because there are so many people who win worlds so many people win the NBA championships, and so many people have multiple NBA championships. And yeah, so I think of being the world champ as like being the MVP or being the best player in the world for a given time period. And so Nikola Jokic, undoubtedly, well, maybe not undoubtedly, but I would certainly say he's the best player in the world right now. And so that's pretty much the extent of my comparison, where he's the best player. He's just the best player right now. He won the world championships. Yeah, I like the D-Wade comparison too.
Yeah, I guess just like real quick, I do think that if we're viewing NBA championships as not as valuable as a whole world championship win, then maybe D-Wade's not the best. But I do think D-Wade's like the third best shooting guard of all time. So
D-Wade's an all-timer for sure.
Wait, has he won MVP? Like,
he never won an MVP, I don't believe, but he was definitely first team. Like he had some All-NBA, so.
Yeah, and the other thing is I think VGC is a much more diverse game, so like the international players will get some American comps in NBA. I just think Jokic is like, if he was a VGC player, he'd be better than Luca just in terms of like, I don't know. I'm very high on Jokic, and not that Luca's not. I mean, he's the best player in the world, obviously, but like I think Jokic has shown a little bit more. I guess I don't know.
I think it's too. I feel like it's too early to make the comparison. I guess in that sense, like Luca has been competing for like 2 years basically.
In Masters, yeah.
So he's still pretty young in that sense. So it's like it's hard to make a good comp because we don't really know where he's going at this point. So like you could say maybe like an Anthony Edwards in that sense, or like it's not a perfect comparison, but like
that's why I said 06 Wade, because he's like, I mean, I think 06 Wade's also a good comparison to Anthony Edwards, which is funny.
Yeah, I agree.
So I think that like he actually got over the hump and won a whole ring so young, and I think that is kind of what happened with Cherry here.
Mm-hmm. I think some other cool comparisons. I think Luka Doncic is probably a pretty good comparison, not just because they have the same name, but like just in terms of just a couple years in the league and has already turned into this massive superstar. Hasn't won a championship yet, but same idea. I heard Victor Wembanyama as another comparison, as like, again, very, very young player who is just, turning into one of the great players in the league. I have different
Hold
players.
our horses.
I don't know. I have different players for both of those players. I'm trying to only keep this to one player per. I have NBA every NBA player listed exactly once in my list. So that's part of that influences some of my decisions here. But yeah, just in terms of world champion this year and MVP this year, Nikola Jokic and Luca Ceribelli made sense to me. But yeah, it is hard to say when he's only had a couple seasons as a master. Everyone likes D Wade and everyone likes Siri. I'm sorry, I do not like Dwayne Wade, man. I'm a Mavericks fan. Are you kidding?
I love D Wade.
Shy SGA.
D Wade is a popular player.
That's a good comp as well.
SGA, I think, is a reasonable comparison.
Because SGA also had a crazy team around him too, and that's part of why he looks so good, right? I think that's and I think that's also part of Luka, where he had the next player on our list, which is Arash. And you mentioned Arash a second ago as Luka's mentor, also 2013 world champion. He's gotten top 8 at Worlds. I want to say 2018, 2019, one of these years. So he's got a whole list of accomplishments. But the main thing is world champion in 2013, the first player from Europe to win the world championships, and the last one until I think Edu won. Anyone got a good comp for Arash?
I think you actually just sparked it in my head. I think it's Dirk.
All right.
Because you said Luka's mentor, and I was like, wait, he is kind of the first European guy to do that. Like, I mean, I don't know. Were there big European stars who were as dominant as Dirk and then won a ring?
No, Dirk was
not as dominant. Tony Parker was also there, but yeah.
The reason why he's not Dirk is like literally everything else. Like, I think Arash won kind of out of nowhere, whereas Dirk was like the best player for several years before that, even actually. I mean, we can debate best player, but you know what I mean. Like, one of the best, like really impressive. Whereas Arash, like, I don't think anyone expected him to win in 2013, and he had just a really creative team. I think, if I remember correctly, actually, he very dubiously even got the invite. So I'm not sure, like, outside of the very specific being, the first European to get it poppin'. Also the first brown boy to win Worlds. Shout out Persia, Iran. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I guess I can go with my thought, which is I had him as Larry Bird. Because Arash also won way back in the olden days, right? This is over 10 years ago now, so definitely the olden days of VGC. And right after we're talking about eras, right? And so he was sort of in that start of the first initial wave of popularity with 2014, of course, was Pachirisu, and that was the first real surge in VGC's popularity. So I think Larry Bird being an old school player who was, won a championship, one of the first like real white players who was really good in the same way that Arash was one of the first European players who popped off, is also a strong comparison. But also notably, you mentioned that he was the mentor to the current world champ. And that also plays well with how Larry Bird has continued to be a part of basketball. He was the coach of the year in 1998 and the executive of the year in 2012 in the NBA as well. So he's had a long and storied career after he retired as a player, as a mentor, and as a coach. So I really like the Larry Bird comparison for that reason.
He was an okay coach.
He did. That's why he went to an executive.
Right.
But certainly, winning coach of the year is a big deal, and winning executive of the year as well. Like, how many players have won MVP, coach of the year, and executive of the year? That's a very small bunch. And in terms of putting that into context in VGC, Arash is one of the players who I think fits that bill.
Do you have any thoughts, Michael, on who Arash could be?
No, I mean, I think the things that you said make a lot of sense for Dirk as well, in terms of, you could say even the 2011 championship, like if you take it in context of what when Dirk won the championship, nobody was expecting that.
That's true.
Like Dirk failed his champion, like he failed his big opportunity in 2006, and then in 2007 he was the MVP. People thought he was going to really take that next leap, and then he completely bombed the playoffs. Like he got swept in the first round as the reigning MVP as first seed by an 8th seed, and so people gave up faith in Dirk. They didn't think he would do it. Like the narrative at the time of 2011 is that he was a choker. He was a playoff choker. He has the same label as like a Joel Embiid does right now, where he doesn't. People didn't think that he could really do it, and the team around him at the time was not like the roster wasn't considered that great. Even like looking back, like if you look at that roster right now, even if
That
you
was
were
a
to look
prime
at the
J kid.
most rose tinted glasses, right? Like it was no, it was like 37-year-old J Kid or 38-year-old J Kid or whatever. And then you had like Tyson Chandler and Sean Marion and stuff. And like obviously, like if you're like a mid 2000s fan, it's like, oh, like those are some nice names and stuff. But like it's nothing crazy. He didn't have any other all timers on his team in their prime, at least. Like, you know, J Kid is an all timer for sure, but like not in his prime. And so like the team around him was solid for sure, but like at the time, and then not only that, but going into the playoffs, he beat the way that he won the championship. He beat the defending champ Lakers in a sweep. He beat the rising OKC Thunder, and then also the like LeBron led Heatles that at the time every analyst was saying they were going to easily win. So like nobody was expecting him to win that championship. So like in that sense, I could see the Dirk comparison.
Yeah. The two things that we're not considering right now is one that Arash had like a resurgence after he won Worlds, because it was like one of his first tournaments. Like he did prove himself. He became the first person to win every level of tournament, I believe. He was the first person to win World Championships, National Championships, and regional championships, I think. Because Wolf won in 2016, and he won his nationals in 2016. And then obviously Internets happened, Players Cup happened. Now it's only Wolf, right? Whatever. But the other thing is Arash has like swag, like he's got style, you know? Like so that makes me think of more current NBA comps where like dudes show up in the tunnels with drip, dude. Like he could be SGA, you know?
I mean, yeah, in terms of like attitude, right? In terms of I can see
Yeah.
that too.
And he's got cool teams too. It's never like just boring shit.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. So with that, let's talk about the next player, another world champion. This time, the 2014 world champion. It is Sejun Park. Who's got a Sejun? I'm sure you guys thought of one for this guy. Who you got for Sejun Park?
I'm letting Michael go first.
No.
Wait, I haven't thought of one.
All right. Let me go first then.
Right.
I got Magic Johnson. Because in the
That's
same
really good.
way that I had
That's a good one,
Arash
yeah.
winning 2013 as Larry Bird, Sejun winning 2014 as like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson was the Showtime Lakers were the spark that really made made the NBA popular, and that is the same with Pachirisu really making VGC, putting it on the map for the first time. It attracted so many players. 2014 Worlds was the first tournament that I ever watched, so you could, I mean, like a lot of people, right? And so you can see how the influence that Sejun Park has had even to this day, in terms of how popular he still is, despite like he plays a lot of different games now. He plays Smash. He came back and played Unite for a year. He played TCG for a year. Like he's a crazy good player. This isn't really like mapped perfectly because there aren't a ton of people who have played basketball and other sports. But yeah, just in terms of the way that he had revitalized the popularity of VGC way back in the day, I think Sejun and Magic Johnson makes a lot of sense.
I
Yeah, now
completely
that
agree. Sorry, go on, Michael.
yeah, now that you say it, I think that comparison's so good because like for like people who are not even into VGC like as a competitive game, a lot of people that just like know about Pokemon tangentially will know about like the Pachirisu. You know, you hear about it just like when I first got into competitive Pokemon. Like I got back into competitive Pokemon back in like 2014 to 2015 or whatever, and um I didn't play any VGC at the time. I had no interest. I didn't even know about it. But people were talking about Pachirisu back then, like, oh, Pachirisu is so cool. Like, you know, people like winning with your favorites or whatever. Like, obviously, he had a real competitive reason to do it, but like, it's the interest that it's sparked in, um, like the community was like it was like the flair. Like the Pachirisu is like it's a good comparison because Magic Johnson also has like that flair to the game where you know there's a reason why he does like the behind the back passes and stuff and the really fancy passing. Like it's like the magic part of the Magic Johnson is has a very practical aspect as well because like it it's about like, diverting attention from your opponents and trying to like trick them a little bit in that sense. But it was really practical at the same time, and he was like widely agreed upon to be the best passer of all time, and he brought a lot of like excitement to the game, like the way that everyone like it changed the way that people thought about basketball back then, and so like now with the rise in popularity, like after Magic Johnson, and the rise in popularity after Sejun's World Championship, I think it's like a really good comparison.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like their post-career stuff. Like I think Sejun pivoted to a lot of like business ventures, so to speak, like to make it more similar to Magic. He's been doing a lot. Obviously, Magic like retired due to his like he got HIV, right? And I tested positive, so he is. I mean, career ended short. Sejun, I think, just kind of stopped playing after 2015.
No, he had to take a break because of mandatory military service.
Military.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. But I'm pretty sure he did. I mean, I don't know for sure actually. I thought he had some like specific like not an exemption, but like I don't know, because he was like a content creator media thing. Like maybe I'm misremembering. But anyway, yeah, like I think there is some similarities there. They're also both born in Lansing, Michigan, so that's cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lie, but could be.
Yeah, good. I did not know Sejun was eligible for Team USA. We got to get him at some point.
I think the Flare is a perfect comp. Like the flashy, the magic.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, they've got the same. Yeah, exactly. We look back at Sejun's win the same way that we look back at the Showtime Lakers, in my opinion. So I really like that a lot. All right, next player we got Shade Vieira, Shoma Honami, the 2015 Pokemon World Champion. I couldn't actually find a ton of other accomplishments for him. But he is like one of the most popular Japanese VGC content creators now. He has some crazy thumbnails out there. So yeah, that is the I guess that's the background for Shoma. Did any of y'all have a calc for him, for a comp for him? Excuse me.
Okay, before I give a comp, I just want to explain who Shade Vieira kind of is. Is like similar to what I was saying about Edu. He had like a very prestigious online presence. Like he hadn't gone to many tournaments, but people would say like, this is the best player I've ever seen in my life. Like he's an online god. And then 2015 was basically just the perfect season. He won the Japanese online tournament, he won Japan Nationals, and then he just won Worlds. And he had the most, I think every Pokemon was 252, and he just played better than everyone. He was just the best player in the world. And then, like I said, nothing since. Just nothing since. So that's kind of the lore behind Shoma. Mm-hmm. So in my mind, it's someone who had kind of the perfect season. Like I do think he could be Hakeem just because he had like, you could say it's winning MVP, Depoy, and rings kind of in the same season. Did Hakeem do that?
Right? Yeah, it was the perfect season in that sense. Finals MVP,
yeah,
MVP,
and it happened
and DPOY.
A very distinct period of time that was not replicated again. Like that's kind of my idea behind Hakeem. Okay. Also, like Hakeem being the master of footwork is kind of like Shoma just being like, I am the master of chalk.
All right, Michael, do you have any thoughts?
I think Hakeem is a great comparison for that reason. Just like the Grand Slam, I guess, if you want to call it that way, or the Golden Road, or whatever you want to call it. But it's like the bet, like the most prestigious thing that you can do. Like no player in the NBA has ever done that, like before and after. So yeah, I mean, I think that's a good comparison. I don't have anything to add.
I like it. The only thing that I thought about a little more is that now he's a big content creator, and so I had him as Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq also had a like crazy one. He had a few strong seasons in a row. The 2000 season especially, where he won MVP, won the NBA championship, Finals MVP, All-Star Game MVP. I didn't know that. He was the scoring champion that year. I mean, that was really like the magnum opus of Shaquille O'Neal. And then he played for a lot longer after that. He of course won a couple more championships with the Lakers. He won a championship with the Heat. But the tail end of his career extended for a long time, and he was never like really the same great player. But nowadays, Shaquille O'Neal as the guy on TNT who makes all the funny jokes and is basically a content creator. And that's kind of how I think players nowadays know Shoma is, he was like one of the all-time greats, but also he's like the internet funny man. in Japan, and I think that's why I had Shaquille O'Neal as Shoma Honami.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I actually like that. That's pretty funny. And like, I mean,
That's
when
very
you think
fun.
about dominance in the league, you do think about Shaq. So
Mm-hmm. And like I
I
said,
like that comp.
I think world champ is like you were the best player in the league for a period of time, and there was a very brief period of time where Shaquille O'Neal was the best player in the league. That's also sort of true of Olajuwon, but really it was true of Olajuwon when Jordan wasn't playing, right? He was never really really the best player.
well, think about the people Shoma's sandwiched between, dude.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, you're right. That's also a good point. Um,
That's
but
why I think he's actually very Hakeem in that way. It's just like the problem is that it's also the first like uh the start of the Japanese curse where you have to either win or get top four Japan Nats to or no, you have to win Japan Nats or you have to have gotten top four previously at Worlds to win the World Championships.
Mhm.
And so you'll see in our future World Championships they do follow that exact thing.
Mhm.
Until this one.
Until
This year.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And so from there, we got the next world champion on our list. We have Naoto Mizobuchi, who is you know what? I'm gonna okay, yeah, I'll spoil a little bit of what I was gonna say. So he won the 2019 World Championships. He got top 4 at the World Championships in 2015. He got top 8 at the World Championships in 2022. We were talking about the GOAT discussion. I guess what I didn't say is that yeah, with this boom in popularity, you would expect the greatest of all time to the Jordan LeBron equivalents to come when VGC has this huge boom in player base, right? There are a few players on this list I'm going to point out who I think could eventually be the greatest of all time. Naoto is one world championship win away, maybe even a Japan national win away from having a very reasonable claim to being the GOAT. Because, like someone in chat mentioned, he does not. Japanese players don't get the chance to play in as many tournaments, and so if you could go to Worlds in this many times from Japan, that's already impressive as it is. To top cut and get top 8 at Worlds 3 different times is something that literally I think only Ray, Wolfe, and Naoto have done. So with that in mind, any comps that you have?
I mean, just by that logic, is he Tim Duncan? Like,
All right, I
I don't
like it.
know.
That was definitely the first name that came to mind, but I have ideas for Tim Duncan for other players as well. So like, I'm not certain on that aspect, but just like
Yeah, because one thing to remember is that even though it says 3 years apart, those were back-to-back Worlds, 2019 and 2022. Like, or yeah, exactly. So he
yeah,
won
they were.
Worlds and then he got top 8, and I think he lost to Edu in top 8. Like, he lost to the eventual world champion, and I don't think it was like a wash. Like, I think this guy is crazy good. And I think Tim Duncan's also probably in my top 5 players of all time. If we're saying like Bill and Wilt are like, you know, we didn't watch them and it feels dishonest to rank them truly, I would put Duncan like probably 4th after Kareem.
I don't know if I'd put Tim Duncan that high. But that's
I put
reasonable.
Duncan at 4th in my all-time list.
Really?
We're very high on Tim Duncan.
Okay.
It's only if we say we're not even ranking Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and shit because like we just didn't watch them.
That's fair. No, that's fair. It's
Yeah.
really hard to rank after number 3. I think the top 3 are pretty straightforward, and then but yeah, I think that in terms of NBA history, in terms of VGC history, I personally have Naoto as the 3rd best player of all time right now. And
That's hard.
it's hard, but I think he has the best case for it. I think this is a crazy set of worlds.
No, it is actually absurd. Because I don't even know his Japan Nats finishes are really high too. I'm pretty sure he's gotten top 8 and shit like many years.
And so my comp is LeBron James. I think that
Okay.
I think that he is this is like mid-career LeBron James, right? This is after he's won a couple titles with the Heat. This is like when we're starting to think, oh wait, this guy might actually be in contention for the greatest of all time. And so if we're talking about Wolfe as Jordan, who can compete with Jordan? Naoto is one of the very few players I think who is starting to look like he can be on the same level and start to claim that he is the greatest of all time. Now, of course, LeBron had to continue that consistency for another decade before he got there, and we're going to see if Naoto has that same drive, has that continue this crazy streak of success that he's had for 2015 to 2022. But Yeah, this is my hot take for the day, but I think Naoto is LeBron James.
Okay, I actually have a comp. I think he's Jimmy Butler. Hear me out, okay?
Whoa,
Hear me out, all
all
right?
right. Go for it.
At
And
both
that
2019 and 2022 Worlds, bro started 0-2
I think so.
and then made top 8 and finals. Is that not the most Jimmy Butler playoff shit you've ever heard? That's crazy, bro. Like, you never expect him to do it, like, and then he just does it. That's the reason, okay? Because Jimmy Butler's not a regular season player. He's Japanese. He doesn't get to play in the regionals.
that's a that's a crazy thing to say. That's so funny, honestly.
Michael, any final thoughts about Naoto?
I think it depends on how you view the trajectory. I guess I know you think of very highly of Naoto, so if he does continue the success, then we could definitely see a LeBron James, because like I remember thinking like what back in the like early mid 2010s, like the GOAT discussion was very much not about right now it's very much LeBron versus Jordan, and I would say it slightly favors LeBron right now, especially because the NBA is like generally very popular amongst a younger audience, so like people who watch
Clears.
LeBron would prefer LeBron. So like, you know, in the LeBron versus but like if we rewind time a little bit, like back to the mid 2010s is basically what you're proposing. LeBron did not have that same discussion around him. Like people knew that he had the potential, like in terms of like looking at a player in terms of how good they were. People always hailed LeBron as being one of the best of all time, but like everyone would still say Jordan is the best, Jordan is the best, especially during that time when people were a little bit of a LeBron hater. Like, you know, people didn't want to root for LeBron because he was the best player in the league at the time. So I could definitely see that comparison a little bit in the sense of if Naoto can continue to be like in terms of just raw accolades, like 2019 world champ, top 4 at Worlds and top 8 at Worlds, like there's very few people who could match that. You know, you mentioned Ray and Wolf, but like even those guys, they did it in like a long time ago, right? So like we haven't seen someone do it like more recently, and so like those accomplishments are super impressive, and like arguably like GOAT status kind of level accomplishments. So depends on how he continues for the next couple of years, but it could definitely be that that comparison.
I think he also fits Jokic in some ways, but I have a better comp, I think, personally, for someone else.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm not gonna do that right now, but I do think that like that 3-time MVP like is not very common, especially recently. And I do think people forget about Naoto, and I don't think that Jokic is like forgotten about, but there is definitely a lot of mixed, you know, like people say like, oh, the eye test, like he's not a bucket the same way Embiid is, and it's like, dude, it doesn't matter. This guy's the best. Like he's kind of quiet. Like I don't know. We just I
like
think
for casual fans, maybe they don't. He doesn't have the same presence, especially for like, you know, you could say like international player versus being like Japanese player, like to the Western fan like audience, like we could see them a little bit more as international players. I could see that as well.
And Jokic is also like just very quiet in general, right? We don't get to hear him talk very much. Someone asked.
Actually, I do think he's Jokic. I think he's Jokic. I've decided that he's my Jokic.
So someone asked, will the slideshow be available? This will be on YouTube tomorrow, just like every Tub Takes. So make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, !YT in chat. I do like the Jokic comp too. I didn't think of that. Well, I had that for Luca, but yeah.
I was in chat saying that Megan rattles Jimmy Butler, and I think that's actually true.
That's a good comp. I agree.
That's so
like
true.
Showing up when the like in the playoffs, like I think that's a good comp.
That's so good. Yeah.
I did not have Megan rattle on the
list.
The
same thing.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah. Same years too. Just back to back top 8.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so did Beck. Holy.
Yeah,
fuck,
so did Beck.
What was in the water, dude?
And I think Hirofumi also got back to he did 2023. He did 2019 2023. Which who by the way is our next player. So I do have it here. Hirofumi Kimura, back-to-back Japan national champion. You want to talk about accomplishments that will never ever be replicated. I don't think anyone is ever winning back-to-back Japan national championships ever again. That is best of one, single elim, top 64. He won 2 of them in a row. And then he also topped it off with a second place at the World Championships in 2019. He also top cut the World Championships in 2023 and 2024. I think that if he had won Worlds in 2019, I'd put him as the greatest player of all time. Just for that 2-year run is just insane and unmatched. But he didn't win Worlds, so I don't think he's in the conversation. But certainly, I mean, one of the best team builders. He built the team that Sanvi and Chapo won regionals with a format later at 2023 Worlds and top cut with that. I think he got top 32 that year. Yeah, just one of the most creative team builders, one of the best players in the world by far, and still at the top of his game, cutting Worlds this year. Anyone got a good comp for Hirofumi?
I have one because they're both my favorite players. I think he's Steph Curry, bro.
All right.
I also think the 2019 season, like, what if, is so similar to the 2016 what if of Steph Curry and LeBron.
Where, yeah.
So I that's my nod to Hirofumi as like one of my probably top 3 favorite VGC players ever.
Michael, do you have a comp that you had in mind?
Give me a couple minutes to think about it.
All right.
Do you have a comp already? Ready?
Of course I have one already. That's
right.
I'm just trying to pull up this image, but yeah, of course I have one ready. I have him as Wilt Chamberlain. Obviously in terms of eras, this doesn't quite line up, but in terms of like a comp, like statistics, right? Some of the things that Wilt Chamberlain has done, there are very few records in the NBA that I think will never be broken, right? Like Bill Russell is one that we talked about in the same way that Ray is untouchable. Steph Curry's 3-point record is not going to be broken for a long, long time, so I like the Steph Curry comp as well. That one I think, eventually will get broken as we continue to shoot more and more threes, but like that he is so far gone beyond anyone else. But Wilt Chamberlain is the other guy who has the unbreakable records, and he has all of them. I mean, points in a game, rebounds in a game. He has 55 rebounds in a game, 100 points in a game. He had over 48 minutes per game for a season. The only thing that Wilt couldn't do on command was win a championship. He did win a championship eventually. He was kind of blocked by Bill Russell and that era of the Celtics. But I mean, that's the same way that I look at Hirofumi, where he is probably the best player in the world for that span. He might still be the best player in the world, but for whatever reason, he didn't get over the hump. He couldn't get over the hump and get the world championship. He can do everything else, anything and everything else he's done. But it's just the world championships that's missing, and that's kind of how I see Wilt Chamberlain in terms of breaking records and in terms of his accomplishments.
See, for me, I think the reason why I also say Steph is kind of like, for a while Steph didn't have that Finals MVP, and we were talking about rings not being world championships necessarily, because Steph has got a lot more rings than Hirofumi has world championships, but I do think that like there is another similarity there, and their style. Like Hirofumi is one of the most creative players. Kind of had an impact lasting past his run. Like other players had taken his teams and had won stuff from it. Similar to how like the game of basketball just changed after the Warriors. Obviously there was, I think, some preceding factors, especially with the Heatles, to be honest. I think they were shooting more threes than a lot of other teams. But like I think Steph Curry kind of revolutionized the game. I would say Hirofumi's impact's a little less, but I do see the comp there. I also think that Hirofumi is similar to Wilt because they're both very popular with the ladies, kind of menaces to society, I would say. So I think it works. Yeah.
All right, Michael, you have a couple minutes to think.
I got one. So I might call this out in chat, but I think this is a pretty apt comparison. It's Luka Doncic. I think, similar to the Wilt comparison, he hasn't won a championship yet. I think that's the last thing that is left in his drawer in terms of like accomplishments. Like Luka technically also doesn't have a MVP, but like in that sense, like he's won. Like he's had great team success. He's had great individual success. He's been all NBA like 5 times in his 6th season so far. And like in terms of individual records, like if you look at like playoff points per game and like how many points he's had and like his regular season averages and everything, like Luka is someone who we won't see a player like Luka in a very long time again. Nothing about his game is like like the most unique, I guess you would say, about Luca, but like he's just like such a like his story and his like the fact that he's international as well, like kind of builds into this where I feel like the international comparing to Japanese players is like a little bit apt in terms of community sentiment about the players. And I feel that Hirofumi's like if we want to say that Naoto is more like Jokic, where he's not as well known in the Western circles. I feel like Hirofumi is like a lot more popular in the Western circles, like Luca compared to Jokic is. So I feel like the Luca comparison is pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It maybe depends on how we see his career. I guess both these guys are relatively young, and have a long career ahead of them. So I guess we'll see how it plays out.
I guess I didn't realize that Hirofumi was still like kind of at his peak, you know. For some reason, I haven't been noticing his like recent cuts, and like I mean, if I see him, top cut another world championship, I'd be like, holy shit, this guy's the best. I would root for him so hard. For some reason, I kind of just like thought, he's just done after 2019.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly what happened in 2022, but he almost caught 4 world championships in a row, right? That's pretty crazy. Obviously, almost counts horseshoes and hand grenades, whatever. But a lot of players have almost. I should say a lot of players have almost caught 4 worlds in a row, but there's a couple players who've almost caught 4 worlds in a row. But yeah, he was undefeated at Worlds this year. He lost to Wolfe in at the Battle of the Undefeateds. I remember that on stream. Yeah, he cut in 2023. So yeah, just a crazy good player. Again, as far as like, I think that he had the best player in the world status despite not winning Worlds. For a couple years there in 2019, especially. So, yeah. All right. With that, let's talk about the next player we got is the 2017 world champion, Riota Ubo. Notably, I have not seen any other accomplishments for him. I couldn't find anything else especially notable. He had some.
He won Nats that year.
He won Nats that year?
Yep.
So 2017,
Japan Nats.
Won Japan Nats, won Worlds. Has not really done anything since then, and did not really have a ton of accomplishments before that. He had been to Worlds a couple times before that, had done okay at Japan Nats before that, but yeah, just kind of a 1-year wonder. What do y'all think?
Maybe he's D-Rose.
Did you put him as D-Rose?
I did not put him as D-Rose.
Okay.
The other thing is like people don't understand is that this motherfucker loves Crocodile. He brought it in 2015 too. Like he just like loves Crocodile and just won with Crocodile. Like I think that's really based. He also had Nature Power Whimsicott. Like he was so sick, and D-Rose had that like D-Rose shit to him. I will say, I also think D-Rose is a horrible person for similar reasons to Kobe. So that's also not talked about. But Riota is like honestly a sweetheart, at least from what I can tell. So that's not really a good match that way. But I do think the kind of one year like amazing run with the kind of aura surrounding him, that's kind of what I would think of an MVP Rose season. But what do you guys think?
Michael, you want to answer, or should I go first?
I could also see a Dirk comparison, if we're continuing, like if I'm going to continue down this international players as Japanese players line of thought, then the 1-year wonder, like we could say as Dirk. Dirk's 2011 season, we already talked about it previously, but it was really a 1-year wonder kind of story where nobody was really expecting it, and it doesn't match up perfectly just because Dirk was like known to be really good even before then, but like for many years before then he had other accomplishments, but I could see that being like a kind of similar through line.
I think Ryota had also gotten top 8 at Japan Nats previously, but I'm not certain. This is all just based on like my memory right now. Like I didn't look anything up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the difficult thing here is that every Japan Worlds winner has won Japan Nats the same year or like top 4 the same year. So it's almost like a perfect season type run every time.
Right. Yeah. So I kind of came from it with a different perspective. Less of a 1-year wonder perspective and more in that his Worlds win was, I don't want to call anyone's Worlds win fraudulent, but if there was ever a fraudulent Worlds win, it was Ryota's. And for context, I think especially the top 4 of Worlds that year, he won on a game that went down to the timer rules, but it was the old timer rules where you had to play 3 additional turns, kind of like the TCG. And it wasn't something that happened in Japan because Japan played best of 1 and didn't have the same rules as us. And it was 2 Japanese players playing against each other. And the player who he was playing, I forget. Do you remember who it was?
Snow.
It was Snow, right? So Snow had like basically a win locked up. I think that he just did not understand or the timer rules, or it was not translated properly, or something along those lines. And just double protect would have won on the last turn of timer. But because it's not in-game timer, just to be clear, this is like this is the clock timer that they have outside of the game that a judge keeps track of. And a judge tells you when you have 3 additional turns. They've removed this from the game altogether, but you still hear judges at local say you have 50 minutes or whatever. It's a remnant from that era. So he won not only because his opponent did not understand the timer, but then also got a critical hit on that turn to win that set. And so it is.
Yeah, they made a YouTube video about it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
They were playing it during Worlds, I think, or something like that.
I just feel so bad, dude. Like, I was actually, I think, next to Aron Zen for most of that match, and he was like, "This game is so fucking long, dude," because it was just Celesteela shit, and then to end like that was so brutal, dude. Like, I don't know.
Oh, they played it at the most recent regional.
They've been putting on a stream for quite a bit. They've been on a stream in their rotation for a while.
Okay.
But
so at Baltimore, it was on the stream. Like, it was on the stream rotation. It's the first time I had seen the video because I haven't been watching VGC for that long. But
like that moment is legitimately one of the craziest moments in VGC history. And again, I think largely because of either mistranslation or misunderstanding of the rules. But then also in Worlds Finals, he played Sam Pandelis, and I haven't gone back and analyzed that match at all. But people keep telling me that Sam had a chance to win and kind of toss that set as well. So I don't know. I don't want to.
I think it's more complicated, but kind of.
But okay, so I'm not going to go into details about that because I watched the set, but I haven't analyzed it. But in terms of fraudulent world championships, and again, I put that very loosely because no world championships are really fraudulent. He won Japan Nats. He earned his way to Worlds. He did really, really well at Worlds. He played the best that he could, and his opponents didn't play perfectly, and that's part of Pokemon. But following that narrative, it is Kevin Durant because KD, I mean. Again, I kind of see world champion as best player in the world. KD was definitely, he has an MVP. He was the best player in the world for exactly 1 year when he won MVP. But he also won.
I don't know.
He won a couple championships. He won a couple championships that he really didn't have to contribute very much to. You know, like it wasn't really him that won those championships. It was the.
I agree. Despite him having 2 finals MVPs for those, I think he was just like obviously like the perfect system for him, and I think the credit should go to Steph because that system doesn't exist without Steph, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I think like he was probably the 4th or 5th most important person on that team. Like you would say Steph is the most important, and then I would say Draymond's the 2nd most important, and then I would say Steve Kerr is the 3rd most important, and then maybe I would put Durant there, and then but like I'm not even sure I would put like Durant ahead of Clay. Like he was obviously like the best player.
Dude, Durant could just beat Clay. What do you mean?
Like I wasn't like I'm not sure if Durant was probably the best player during those like on those teams, but that doesn't necessarily mean that he was the most important. And like I think if Durant wasn't on those teams, they probably don't win those championships. To be completely honest, like they probably would have lost one of those to the Rockets. Like the Rockets would have beaten them without Durant. Like or like the Thunder could have like challenged them in one of those years. But like in terms of like fraudulent NBA championships, like that team was just not balanced at all. Like it was objectively like not a difficult championship for them because of the basically the media deal that happened in 2016 that he could just sign a max contract to the Warriors. Like it basically just broke the entire salary cap system. Like as just like not something that was ever supposed to happen basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors that could go into comparing someone to him. Cause like, you could also say then like keep in mind the politics of the finals. Like people still wanted him to win, just because he had a Whimsicott and a Crocodile. and also Sam's kind of a controversial figure in VGC. So I think there's other comps like in that way. Riota is kind of like the fan favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then there's obviously the whole perfect story run. I think Jason Tatum's championship this year was kind of stupid. It was so easy for him. He didn't even have to win Finals MVP. I mean, Hallie got hurt, right?
Yeah,
Or who got hurt on the
they
Pacers?
didn't play
Brunson
anyone.
got hurt. They didn't play anyone. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yep.
Could be Tatum.
Yeah,
I could see Tatum as well.
I do want to say, first off, no one pointed this out in chat, but I just noticed it. I did misspell his last name, and I apologize for that. I promise I am not actually a Riota hater. By all accounts, he is like one of the nicest people you will ever meet. He is so enthusiastic, like so genuine. And I kind of slandered his world championship a lot, but like that is sort of like from a fan perspective, right? In terms of like a legacy perspective, not in terms of like he is by all accounts a great dude. And Kevin Durant is probably actually going to be in my comment section talking shit about me after I said all the stuff about Kevin Durant. So that is very different. I don't want to, in the same way that you said.
I have a different comp for Kevin Durant. So.
In the same way that you said.
I also like Niels said Ben Wallace, and then I think Bruno was saying like the 04 Pistons is not like a crazy comparison.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see that.
That's different though, in my opinion, because like the 04 Pistons didn't win off their opponents choking. They were just better. Like they were just a better team than the Lakers.
No, that was fire. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
So like
he was saying it was a defensive format. He was defensive,
Sure.
Celestila winning, dude. The Celestila style is kind of just like, okay, you can score 20 points, but we'll score 20 points, but we'll make sure you score 19.
Mm-hmm. I like that comp too. In terms of play style, that's and in terms of like not insulting the players, it's probably a better comp.
I only insult the players I dislike. Okay.
That's the thing is, I'll insult players I like. I'll insult players I dislike. You have to be a little brutally honest to do this sort of thing. I saw
right.
someone in the replies to the tweet was like, why don't we do a TCG version of this? And they were like, we don't want to be mean to anyone, basically. And I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be mean to some players, and I apologize. I promise I don't actually dislike you.
That's a good fun.
All right. So that's Riota. We got one more Japanese world champion, and that is Shohei Kimura, Zen, who won the 2023 World Championships. He do you know which year he won Japan Nationals?
He got second in 2017 to Riota.
He got second
with
to
Mandibuzz
Riota.
Buzzwole.
Someone can tell me some of his other accomplishments. Mainly, I know Zen because he is one of the few Japanese players who travels to internets. He's gotten top 16 at an internet, maybe two internets. He has gone to, I think, OCIC. I think he's gone to EUIC. He's also like grinds online tours. He plays like every Victory Road tour, and he pretty consistently does well in those too. And so in terms of like people who love Pokemon and play Pokemon, he maybe plays the most Pokemon out of anyone. And so yeah, with that little spiel. Raghav, actually, you've been adding a lot to my descriptions of players. So did you want to add anything?
I'm actually not remembering all of his accomplishments right now, but like you said, he's one of the most active players on Ladder, and I think he makes a lot of content towards that too. And he's also just known as a really good team builder as well. Although I think the team that he won Worlds with was a UB Slow team. I'm not sure. But yeah, 2017 second place, and definitely some other strong Japanese national finishes.
Mm-hmm. Top 4.
I think he might have top 4 in 23. That's what it was. Okay, I was like, yeah, the year he won, I know he got top 4. I actually also think that I don't think Ryota's year was the most Mickey necessarily. I think this is also a really Mickey year just because of the DC issues at the tournament. Like I think there was so much variance. But again, not to take away from anyone's actual victory. Like he was the best player there. He had an amazing run, and I think he's one of the best players of all time. So I just think that the DC thing does kind of like, I don't know, asterisk. We are doing NBA comps after all.
Xenos has like he has a big following outside of like even before he won Worlds, right? Like he's a big content creator, is my understanding.
I'm not sure, honestly. Like I know he makes content. I don't know who's big and who's not really,
Oh, okay.
I don't know how big he was before he won Worlds. I know I knew that he was around, but I can't really keep track of all the Japanese content creators, sadly.
Maybe this guy's Jason Tatum. I don't know. You guys, you have ideas?
So
Jason Tatum.
Bruno had mine in chat immediately. He said Zene's got to be Giannis, and yeah, that's exactly right. I had him as Giannis. He's the guy who loves Pokemon more than anyone else, in the same way that Giannis seems to love basketball more than anyone else. Zine seems like one of the coolest people to hang out with. I've seen photos of people hanging out with him at internets. I've never gotten to meet him, but yeah, he just seems like a really fun guy in the same way that, like, if there's an NBA player that I want to hang out with, I think it might be Giannis. There's a very short list, and Giannis is up there for sure. So I definitely think that, in the same vein that we talked about, like international players being Japanese players, I think that is also a pretty apt comparison. And so, yeah, I really like the Giannis to Zine comparison.
Okay, I
like
think
that
he's
comparison,
Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett.
Because if you've ever seen Zine on stream, holy shit, bro, it's not that just his Pokemon are doing the moves. I think he feels the Thunderbolt coming out of his, like, fucking chest, dude. Like, he is so emotive. And Kevin Garnett's the biggest trash talker of all time. Not that Zine's like talking shit to his opponents in the mic, but I think there's a level of flair there, you know what I'm saying? I like Giannis as a comp too, though, just because of his accomplishments and love for the game. But I think KG's also a very enthusiastic guy, and yeah, I don't know. How do you guys? What does Michael feel? I don't mean to cut you guys off.
No, you're good. I think the Giannis comparison's really good. I was also thinking, I was thinking a little bit of Charles Barkley as well, but like I feel that in terms of historically, he's a little bit like Zine would be considered better than Barkley in terms of all-time discussions, like if we were to do apples to apples. But I like the Giannis comparison a lot.
Do you think Giannis is better than Barkley all time?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I don't know about yet, but I think Giannis will be by the time his career concludes, right?
Bro, why? How many rings does Barkley have?
That's a good question.
0.
Well, that's the thing. That's why it can't be Charles Barkley. The defining thing about Charles Barkley is that we're going to get to the Charles Barkley comp. I got the perfect Charles Barkley comp. People have already talked about it in chat.
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's some really good Barkley comps out there. All right. So with that, let's move on to the next player. Is this the last world champion? I don't know. We might have one more. But no, this is the last world champion on our list. Masters world champion. We got some senior world champs coming up. But we got Paul Ruiz, who 2017 top 4 at Worlds, and then 2018 he managed to win the world championships. He's also cut a couple internets. I know he cut one of the Latin American internets. Was that 2019, I believe? He cut with Moltres, which is pretty cool. So yeah, Paul Ruiz, the last world championship on our list, the only world championship from LATAM. Who's got a comp for that?
I think I need a second, honestly, because I think he's a very specific case in VGC that gets underappreciated. Because one, his team in 2017 was sick. Again, totally unexpected. Although LATAM did show out at 2017, I think that was one of their strongest years. Sebas popped off. And then just to follow it up the next year in 2018 to actually just win. Mm-hmm. Again, keeping alive the requirement that you either need to be a Japan national champion or get top 4 at Worlds previously to win. Yeah, I need a second to think about this because I think the short-term peak makes me think kind of like Kawhi, but there's too much of a gap. So, do you guys have any thoughts on this?
Michael, I'm gonna let you go if you have one.
I was thinking a little Jason Tatum because the like continued success at Worlds a little bit. Oh, actually, there is one other player that might be more fitting for that. But I like the Jason Tatum a little bit because of like the continued success at Worlds. He's always shows up big at the big internationals. Like Tatum has had a lot of success at every level. I know Tatum's a little bit more slandered than Paul Ruiz, who's like very well respected. But yeah,
Dude, I think Paul Ruiz is better than Tatum. Fuck Tatum.
As I was saying about the Tatum slander. But I'm not a huge Tatum fan myself, but I think there is some level of comparison I think you couldn't make there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's like Steve Nash, dude. Sorry, go on.
Ooh, Steve Nash. I like that comparison.
Steve Nash is a pretty good comparison, yeah.
Yeah, because he's also not from the U.S. One of the foreign player did really well. Came out
from the U.S., bro. What is he? Canadian, and then was born in South Africa. Right?
Canadian, South African, yeah.
Yeah, that rings.
Steve Nash is really good actually because he came into the scene late, right? Paul Ruiz was a little older. A lot of these world champions started playing really young. Steve Nash was not like a superstar until a little later in his career. In fact, the Mavericks let him go because they thought he was he was really good, but he was like, he's an older player. Steve Nash comp, and then he popped off, won MVP in 2004, I believe. I like the Steve Nash comp. Also,
5 and 6.
5 and
5 and
6.
6, yeah.
There we go.
MVPs.
I'm going to give you guys the 2-minute warning for Sacramento registration.
Yep, Sacramento.
And I'm going to do my spiel for Paul Ruiz, and then I'll move on to the next player while you guys are registering, I guess. So my comp is actually Yao Ming. And
whoa,
here's why it's Yao Ming. I think that what Paul represents for LATAM is what Yao Ming represented for like Asian basketball players. He was he was undoubtedly one of the best players in the world. I think that Yao Ming, of course, was often injured. And that was partially because his primary focus was on the Chinese basketball team. So he didn't get to see his absolute best in the NBA, which is also kind of how I feel about Paul, right? Like, because, and this was true of some Japanese players too, but because he lives in, he's Colombia, right?
Ecuador,
excuse me. Yes, I wasn't sure about that. Because he's from Ecuador, he doesn't get to travel out of region as much. And so he doesn't get to play against the best players in the world outside of internats and worlds very often. He comes to a North American regional every so often nowadays. But yeah, I think that's very similar to, I think that like, yeah, being from a region that doesn't have a ton of events is almost like being injured a lot, like I think that's like pretty comparable.
I'm kind of with you, bro.
Honestly fair. That's very fair.
And then on top of that, like when Paul Ruiz won, that was like a watershed moment for LATAM as a region. Everyone was like, it was entire continent that was celebrating Paul Ruiz's win, and I think that's the same as like basically an entire continent watching Yao Ming and being like, this is the Asian basketball player that we had never seen until I think what was it, Jeremy Lin. I don't know if there was another Asian basketball player in the league until that
Insanity,
time. Right?
Bro.
No, there were other Asian basketball players in the league, in the like between that era, but like Yao Ming is definitely the only. You can argue a little bit more for Lin as well, but like Yao Ming's the only player that was legitimately one of the best players in the league. Like when Yao Ming was at his peak, like he was,
Michael, sign up.
Yeah. I'm refreshing the page.
When Yao Ming was at his peak, he was like defensive player of the year.
He was one of the 10 best players in the league. He wasn't ever DPOY or DPOY candidate, I don't really think, but when you hear about how his peers talk about him, like Shaq always says that Yao Ming was the toughest center he ever had to play against. And so like Yao Ming, like, in terms of more casual fans, especially if you didn't watch basketball during that era, you may not think that he's that good. Like, he's nowadays he's represents more he's represented more as like an ambassador of the league more than like for his on the court play, but definitely I like it from like a cultural perspective. Although like Paul Ruiz has more like actual like accomplishments. Yeah, accolades, but I do think that in terms of like from a cultural perspective, I like the comp.
Yeah,
I agree.
All right, and so with that, again, I hope you guys had a chance to register for Sacramento regionals.
I'm on the waiting screen right now. That's why my camera's off.
I see. All right, let me give my spiel about Emilio Forbes then, who's the we had our last world champion. Now we got our world's runner-ups at the very least. The 2018 world's runner-up, the player who lost to Paul Ruiz in the world championships. It's Emilio Forbes. He is your favorite player's favorite player. He is he is a 3-time regional champion, including he had multiple undefeated runs in Swiss in the last couple years. I don't think he won any of those regionals, but he won Fresno regionals. He won. I'm not going to name all the regionals he won, but he won 3 regionals. I think that a lot of people consider him the greatest player in the world to never win a world championship. I think it's that or Hirofumi are the 2 people who I would say are the 2 greatest players to never win a world championship right now. There's maybe one other player you could list, but
probably me.
But yeah. And someone said MDB in chat. I think he's the other one that you could maybe list greatest players to never win a world championships. So yeah, that's Emilio Forbes for you. He's also very quiet, very reserved. And literally there are like 2 photos of him online, which is why there's this grainy ass picture of him.
Also, another thing to add about Emilio is that outside of Ray and Wolf, he's one of the only other players that people will claim to be their GOAT. If you like think about the GOAT as less about like the accolades and more about like the play, just like the eye test, if you will, like what people will say as the eye test, like that Emilio is one of the players that people will say is like the GOAT because his play is just so clean and yeah, as you said, your favorite player's favorite player.
Yeah. I know Michael has a comp for this, so I kind of want to hear him say his first.
I talked about this. I stole this one from Adi, honestly,
We
because he
talked
told
about
me.
this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He told me at Worlds. Maybe it was Rafa who actually made the. Was it you or Rafa
It might have
who
been
made it?
Rafa. I
Because
don't
Rafa.
remember who gave the ideas to who.
Okay. But yeah, it's a great comp. So we already have one that we both agree on. Um, so if you have anything that you want to say, Raghav, you can go ahead.
So I
That's what I'm
think
putting
him
up.
actually never winning worlds maybe makes him like. I guess that actually strengthens your comp if you view worlds as like an MVP run type shit. Because otherwise, you could say he's like James Harden, you know? Because James Harden's like peak scoring runs kind of similar to me. Is like his hyper offense Glamora Swiss like sweeps. Um, like that maybe that's too niche, but like
James
also
Harden
like
plays like an Indozo
Emilio is
player.
kind of a quiet guy, but he lives at the strip club. For those who don't know him, he's always taken. He's from California, but he's flying to Atlanta, going to the clubs like James, and so I think there's a lot in common there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I like the James Harden comp, honestly.
All right. Well, we'll throw the one that we talked about on screen. Which personality wise, I had him as Kawhi Leonard. Where he is the you will never hear him say a word. He's but he is one of the best players in the league. Just consistently I don't know, gets to the finals over and over again. Doesn't matter the team, he gets to the finals. Well, I guess that's not true right now with the Clippers, but yeah, and then again in terms of personality, I think Kawhi Leonard matches pretty well. And then also they're both from California, and so that part also lines up. Both SoCal players, and so yeah, I had Kawhi Leonard as my comp, and I
It's
think Michael had
also
it too.
the,
Yeah,
the
I think.
personality. Sorry, go on, Michael.
Yeah, sure. So I think the comp works for some of the other reasons as well because like we could say about like Kawhi's always injured, but like Emilio he like doesn't really go to tournaments that much. Like everyone knows that like he's one of the players to be the most scared of, right? Like everyone has a lot of respect for him, and I think it's in a similar way that Kawhi it is for Kawhi, where like we all know from both like fellow players and like fans perspective that like Emilio is one of the best players. The same with Kawhi. Like Kawhi, if he's healthy, like if he actually shows up, like he's the player to be the most scared of. Like when I was like as being a Dallas Mavericks fan, we met the Clippers in the playoffs many times, and when the Clippers like it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. Like if Kawhi is healthy, he can just completely take over the game and just win the game by himself. Like he can score like 50 points while locking up Luca, and it's just like completely crazy. Like when he's in the groove, like you just can't stop him. And like that's how it feels like sometimes with Emilio, where like he just goes on these unbelievable Swiss runs where you like see these things like when you watch him play, like it just like so like amazing because you like don't even think that it's like possible to like make some of these plays that like I never see. Like when I watch Emilio's sets, like sometimes that he makes plays where like I don't even see the lineup before he makes those plays, which is like for me at least it's like super rare. So in terms of like the on court comparison, I really like it just because of the like in terms of measurables or sorry like on the eye test like you could say that is like one of the best players to ever play the game. Um,
Easily.
and like in terms of like if you just look at his playoff performances, like his especially like the 2019 championship run where he won and like 2017 like around that era, Kawhi was just so dominant. Like you just couldn't stop him. You couldn't even slow him down, and he was just like the best player in the world during those few years. And um, I think like that kind of comparison really works.
Dude, Kawhi's just so automatic when he's in that zone, like the
Yeah, when he's in the
robotic.
zone, you just like he is like the cyborg nickname is so apt just because like you can't stop him at all. Like nothing you do slows him down. It's so
Even his jump
crazy.
shooting is just like it also looks flat. Like I don't know, it just goes in every time the
Yeah,
same
no,
way.
it looks so clean too. Like it's just like aesthetically pleasing to watch. Like his shots. And I say it as like someone who's like I've always been rooting against Kawhi for like a lot of his career after he left the Spurs because you know the whole thing that the Spurs like the way that the Spurs like situation kind of went down always left a bad taste in my mouth, and so like I was always rooting against Kawhi like throughout his 2019 run, and like when he was on the Clippers, like I was always rooting for them to lose because I was a Mavericks fan and stuff. So like but like just like objectively he was just such a good player during that era.
And many times in call, you've said how much you hate Emilio and that you just don't.
Yeah, of course.
The other thing is, yeah, Kawhi didn't win an MVP. Emilio hasn't won Worlds. Like, I can see that. Also, people who know Kawhi say he's actually really funny, and I'm good. I've been friends with Emilio since we were like a lot younger, and I will say he's one of the funniest dudes. Like, he's so sweet and funny.
Yeah, actually, I didn't think about it, but yeah. I not only I also like the comparison because Kawhi, you know, the injury history, some of it is all right. How much is he actually injured? How much was it load management, whatnot? But if you think of injuries as also just getting unlucky, Kawhi has gotten very unlucky with injuries. And Emilio is maybe the most unlucky player ever in terms of, at least recently, where he had the disconnect at Worlds where he claims he would have won Worlds in 2023, but he lost in a sudden death after a disconnect because the entire field disconnected. And then at EUIC this past year, there was a weird team sheet issue that was like a team sheet submission issue, and he lost round one. That was a big part of why he didn't make day two as well. And then also, like I said, going undefeated in Swiss. What's up? Yeah, he lost to Burns.
He also played Burns round 2 in the mirror after the round one loss from the team sheet error, that submission error. It was so stupid.
Yep. And then
I think that was his first tournament back after Worlds, right?
It was his first tournament back.
I remember literally thinking if this was me, I would quit Pokemon. If that happened to me, I would quit Pokemon.
He wanted to after Worlds.
Yeah, I mean,
and then everyone was like, "Come back," and then that shit happened.
Right, valid.
And yeah, I think that's so. I think the Kawhi comp also kind of matches in that respect.
Yeah.
All right.
I like Chat's KD comp as well, but let's move on.
Yeah. All right. So we got the next Worlds runner-up. We got Sam Pandelis, 2017 Worlds runner-up, 5-time regional or special event champ. I think they're all in the APAC region. He also pretended to be his own sister at one point. So I'm just going to skip ahead to my comp. I don't care what yours are. I got Chris Paul, who is also a phenomenal player who is best known for pretending to be their own sibling.
I'm more of a Karl Malone here, to be honest.
I thought I was thinking more John Stockton or something, but yeah.
No, John Stockton, I'm saving for another guy.
Okay.
Another second place.
I'm okay with the Karl Malone. If you know, you know.
Just for the again, I never thought I'd say this. I argue Sam's a better person than Karl Malone. But
yeah, we can move on.
But I think it actually works because I think he's the best Australian player probably of all time. Maybe Megan Rattle now. I'm not sure. But yeah, he kind of had a crazy run in 2017. I think he top cut in 2016 as well. And so he's kind of the perpetual not winner. I think even at regionals, he has a lot of second places, but obviously has a lot of wins too. I think that is kind of part of his region being weak though. Well, not weak, but less attendees. And I mean, I don't know. I think the league was actually so Mickey during Karl Malone Stockton's era. They were really good, but I do think it was super watered down. There were a lot of changes going on in the league, and growing so much is not as.
Raghav saying that 90s is watched is so crazy.
Dude, I am fucking LeBron stan, bro.
Damn. That would definitely get some NBA old heads mad as fuck, man.
I don't care, bro. I mean, I do think that it was legit, of course. I just think there were a lot of issues that, the West at that time, too, I think was, I don't know, you didn't have to play Jordan until the finals. Every time they'd get their ass smacked. Jordan could have the flu and it'd be okay.
Yeah, the West was definitely weaker during that era compared to the East. That was the the last time that the East has been stronger than the West, but
But Chris Paul, sure.
Chris Paul, I'll allow it.
So I told you guys this before. Some of these I've thought a lot about, and some of these I just thought were really funny. And the Chris Paul one I just thought was funny.
No, the Chris Paul one's good though. Yeah, I don't know. I think Zelda's interesting as actual like Pokemon player. Like clearly super good, but like the finishes are kind of sporadic.
Wait, he's Kyrie because he's Australian and weird.
Kyrie's right.
I like Kyrie too. Kyrie's a really good one.
The thing is, people respect Kyrie so much. Like that's the like everyone's a lot of fans and a lot of players, even with the weird like part of like him being weird and having like bad takes or whatever. Like people still love his game just because like he has the cool factor, you know, like he has the that people always say that he's like the most skilled player in the NBA or whatever. So
that's bullshit. I think he's the most handles for sure. He's the best handles in the game ever.
No, but I'm just saying like that's what people have like the sentiment around Kyrie is like he's super well respected. Like part of it is like the cool factor and like I heard like recently people were talking about it. This is a little bit of a tangent, I guess, but the reason why Kyrie is so respected compared to like someone like Gobert is that what people value in terms of like how good a player is or like how much they like a player, a lot of it has to do with like how good they would be in like a 1v1 kind of situation, and people who like their skills would translate really well into 1v1 as opposed to team setting. Like Rudy Gobert doesn't get any respect because like anyone could beat him in a 1v1 or whatever. Not like anyone, but like, you know, a lot of the good players.
You're taking a long time to explain that Kyrie gets buckets. Rudy does not get buckets. He's not a bucket guy. You know, the game is about putting the ball in the bucket.
Yo, is that Joe in the house? Thank you for the raid. I appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream. Yeah, no, I like the Kyrie comp. I will say we are 15 people in, so we are a quarter of the way done, and it's been almost 2 hours. So I'm gonna keep us moving.
We gotta move. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We might have to do part 2. Next up we got Aron Zen, universally beloved player, top 4 at Worlds in 2014, 2-time national champion, 5-time regional champion. Obviously one of the best content creators out there. I think legitimately the single most beloved player in VGC. Who you got?
Oh, do you have Barkley for this one?
No.
Oh, okay. I do think Barkley is a great comparison though. Like top 4 at Worlds, which would be, you know, kind of equivalent. Barkley had an MVP, but he never ended up actually winning a championship, and he's most well known nowadays for being on TNT. And he's a beloved personality. I think like, I mean, this year will be the first year that we'll have NBA without TNT in a long time. For like the last, I think like 20 something years we've had Barkley as a commentator. So this will be the first time since in 20 years, and I think a lot of people, including myself, like I think that the NBA commentary is like pretty goated, and like a lot of that is the TNT production crew, and I think Charles is probably like one of the best like most entertaining analysts, I guess. Like I don't necessarily think that his opinion is always on point or anything, but he's so funny, and like in terms of from a content creator / like media perspective, he's just like one of the most entertaining people to watch. So
I think
there's one more year of Inside the NBA. Sorry, I thought this was the last one.
I do like the Charles Barkley comparison. The problem is I still have a better Charles Barkley comparison.
Okay. I'm waiting for it. Then.
I'm waiting too. I think that Aaron's too like you know, Chuck's got some funny shit crazy shit to say.
Yeah. Chuck is definitely
more like overtly nice and like family friendly. Like I think on the inside the NBA team, he'd be more of an Ernie.
Sure.
The player comp is just like is too hard. I kind of want to hear what Ali has to say because he peaks so high so early and then kind of okay, I see it now.
Dude, I got my boy, my favorite player of all time, Dirk Nowitzki. I think that obviously not a content creator, right? So it doesn't have that in common. But in terms of just like how he's received, everyone loves Dirk. You know, he definitely. But at the same time, Dirk did gained a reputation. Like everyone remembers for a long time, everyone remembered Dirk for losing in 2006 and for choking in 2006. In the same way that everyone looks back at Aron's career, despite it being such a storied career, and looks back at that will-o-wisp misses in 2014. He's still playing, right? But like, I look at the accomplishments: 2-time national champion, 5-time regional champion. That's a lot of wins. We all look back at that top 4 worlds loss. But just in terms of like how he bounced back, how his personality is, I think that Dirk Nowitzki is like the personality match.
He might be Bob Cousy. I don't know. Like, it was a long time ago. He won a lot of shit. He won a college championship or something. He won in seniors. But I actually think the better comp is Scottie Pippen to maybe just like, I don't know. If Wolfe is Jordan, you said he was Jordan, right?
I said Wolfe is Jordan.
Yeah, then I think Aron could be Scottie. Because he was kind of like, they were really good friends. They used the same team in 2012, won seniors and Masters Nats. And
they don't hate each other right now, though. Sorry. So you're predicting that they're gonna become mortal enemies in the next couple of years?
I mean, I'm really good friends with both, and both of them are trying to figure out how to ruin each other's lives. So,
okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't know that I was.
That's supposed to be private, but it's fine.
Yeah. My bad.
Yeah.
All right. Keep us moving. We got Alex Zagloza, who is the 2014 U.S. national champion, and YouTuber for a while. He's the person who got me into VGC. He's the first YouTuber I was watching.
Same.
But then basically he's played on and off for a little bit, never really seriously competed after that. He streamed a bunch of other stuff. He streamed Artifact, and I was also playing Artifact, which is the League of Legends card game, which got discontinued. That's a whole other tangent I don't want to go on.
Wait, that's not the League of Legends. It was a Dota card game, right?
Dota card game. Sorry, yes, that's the one. He last I checked his Twitter, he was doing Cryptomon stuff. I can't, back when that was the rage in 2020. 2014 national champion who got bored of VGC and started to do anything but VGC for a long time. But very charismatic, great YouTuber.
I could see his 2014 run also being D-Rose-esque, because he didn't even win anything other than that. But I don't know. Well, it's kind of like a very, again, short period of time. The YouTube impact is huge, though. Mm-hmm. Like you were saying, he was one of the first YouTubers I used to watch, too. Was it Fight for First or something? Mm-hmm. I used to love it when I first started playing as a senior.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I could not find a good comp for Alex Zagloza. I struggled for this one, and just could not find one.
Out of every player that you put down on a list, I think this is the only person I did not know.
Okay. You didn't even know who he was?
I don't even know who he is.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Josh Childress. He was Josh Childress was he was the all-rookie team. He played 4 years in the NBA, and then he was like, nah, Europe is paying me more. I'm going to Greece. And he got paid $20 million a year in playing for Olympiacos in Greece. Was also on the all EuroLeague team. After that contract expired, he came back very briefly in the NBA, but like it was just never the same player. It was never. He had all the potential in the world. It looked like he was going to be an all-star. And then just went to Europe and said, no, I'll take the money. Which is kind of how Alex Zagloza's career went. YouTuber, obviously that part isn't in common, but this is my best. This is my best comp for Alex Zagloza.
I don't know who this guy is.
He won 2014 U.S. Nationals with a hyper offense rain team, and a big YouTuber. That's all you need to know.
Yep.
No, I meant the NBA player, but yes, that statement applies to both things.
I also didn't know Josh Childress, which is like crazy name. But yeah, I don't know. I also think Alex is like kind of a crazy dude. Like I think he's got a lot of charisma. So a comp, I think there is. It's just we'd have to go really hard into like role players or not like 1A type players, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are at some point going to have to do that as we get, but as we go down the list of less and less accomplished players, when we get to myself, I know someone's thought of that one.
I have a perfect comp for you, Adi.
Someone said Adiba Lam. Also didn't play much after that. I don't have him on the list, but yeah, he's kind of the same type of vibe.
The guy who got second that year as well, yeah.
Agloza being Derrick Rose, I could see that too. But Derrick Rose got hurt. He didn't get like bored, It's a little different. And also, Derrick Rose kept playing. He's still playing. He just got left left off a roster or something.
Yeah, everyone thinks he's cheeks though. He had 2 good seasons ish. after
You had a good, like a decent 6-man season. That
in New York, right?
it was in Minnesota.
Oh, the Wolves year? Okay, okay. Because
Yeah, it
that
was
was
the
one of the
Wolves year
years.
first, and then he went to the Knicks after, I think, or maybe it was the other way around. But I think the year that he really had a
No,
nice season was on the
the Wolves
Wolves.
was first, I believe.
Okay,
Jason
that's what I
Williams
remember.
is a good one. I didn't think of that. Who said
Dude, J. Will, white
Jason Williams.
chocolate?
white chocolate? Dude, Alex Iloza is totally white chocolate, man.
Dude, he'd say some shit like that too. There's definitely some N bombs on his YouTube channel.
I love that comp. I'm changing my comp to Jason Williams. That's way better. And then because apparently no one knows who Alex Gloza is anymore. Go watch his YouTube videos. They're I'm not sure how well they aged, but it was funny at the time. We got
I don't remember either.
I know he had a series called Feet, so they can't have aged that well. But yeah. Next up, we got player hopefully we all know at this point, Paul Chua, who he has won 6-time regional champion, I believe, if I recall correctly. He won EUIC. He's gotten top 4 at Worlds. He has top cut a whole bunch of internets. I don't even know how many he is there's the Paul Chua bomb where he comes out of nowhere to top cut NAIC and steal a travel award. Is what we call it. So anyone got a good Paul Chua comp?
Maybe this is harder.
I like Tim Duncan for this. I think that the accomplishments don't line up perfectly. Like I think Tim Duncan is a little bit more accomplished, but in terms of like fundamentals, the play style being like so much about balance and fundamentals, I feel like being one of the most consistent players and always like every season having being a threat to do something. I feel like Tim Duncan's a good comparison. He's been around for a long time as well.
Adding
But
to
you
that,
have to remember that.
I got a little bit to add to that. So other thing is,
Go.
Paul Chua has a reputation for using boring ass teams, and Tim Duncan has a reputation for being a very boring player on a very boring team. But also Paul Chua, like I said, every single year NAIC you expect Paul Chua to top cut. At least in Gen 7, that was the reputation that he had. Certainly, still, I think everyone's scared of Paul Chua come NAIC time. He shows up when it matters at the end of the season, and that's kind of like Tim Duncan, always showing up in the playoffs, being so consistent. So, yeah, I think that's also part of the comparison for me.
I was gonna say that Paul Chua also did really well in seniors. The other thing is like he might be like the epitome of like standard teams, but he has the luck of the gods on his side always. You know what I'm saying? Like the Paul Chua fake out, the RNG. Like to his credit, he plays like almost perfectly, but just like I don't know. You could say the same about Tim Duncan. Maybe his Manu and Parker and every role player that the Spurs ever had is kind of his equivalent of having luck but I think the Spurs also just like we're a great organization. So
yeah, I mean, to an extent, like if you look at Duncan's career, like you couldn't have planned it up in a better way. Basically, like he joined a team. He was the first overall pick. He was an undisputed first overall pick that joined a team that was a 55 plus win team the season before he got drafted. Like the season before he got drafted, Robinson got hurt. They basically tanked to purposely get the first overall pick. He joins this team, immediately wins a championship his rookie year, and then right afterwards, basically, like he's on the best run organization of all time. Like basically, they never miss on draft picks. They always find hidden gems. Like Manu's drafted, or like Parker's drafted, I think like 20th or whatever overall, or like post lottery first round, and then Manu's drafted like 57th overall, and it's just like. Yeah, I mean, you got to have some amount of luck, and then like later in his career, he got Kawhi as well. So like he's gotten all time. Depends on where you want to rank them in terms of all time discussion, but like amazing players, like, and part of that is always going to be luck. So
yeah, I think this is perfect. Then I think this is great.
Cool. Yeah, I like this comp a lot. And then now,
kind of reserved too.
Personality wise, yeah, it does kind of line up too. And so with that, we're getting into the Tub Nation section. I got a lot of tubbers coming up. And I'm starting out with Justin Burns, 2-time regional champion, 4-time Internet's top cut, most notably getting second in 2018. Anyone got a good at this point? Hopefully we all know these players. We all thought a little bit about them. Maybe. You got any thoughts about Justin Burns?
Stop singling me out.
Maybe. I don't. Okay. I didn't. the expectation was not that you had a comp for every player, but I would hope that Tub, you at least you know these guys a little well, pretty well.
I'm Googling Arkansas basketball players right now.
I have a comp for Burns, but I know he's not happy about it.
Yeah?
Because I have mentioned it to him, and so
Go for it.
but I'll go for it anyway. I put Justin Burns as Chris Paul because he hasn't won Worlds yet, similar to Chris Paul, but like he's one of the most well-respected players like in his era. Like people look at Chris Paul, although I think Chris Paul maybe is a little bit less well-liked than Burns, but like in terms of respect, like people always point to Chris Paul as being, he's the point god, like that's his nickname, similar to how Burns is called, what they call him, the Cali Ice King in Japan or whatever. But people respect him a lot for his balance and fundamentals, like similar to Chris Paul. Chris Paul is also like a very fundamentally sound player. He plays great defense. He's a floor general. He plays like a very traditional point guard in the sense that like he was one of the last great point guards that has played like a traditional point guard. Like after like more recently, like we've seen players like Harden or like Luca be like elite point guards, but they don't play like how we would traditionally think of as a point guard nowadays, or like Steph Curry or whatever. So I think Burns kind of fits Chris Paul from that perspective.
Okay, I got one.
Go for it. I
think Burns is Sidney Moncrief. Okay. Because he's one of the best two-way players. When deployed twice, I think of Burns as a defensive player, a balanced player, and the Arkansas connection is there. He was a coach for Little Rock too, so it kind of worked out beautifully in my opinion. I think Burns is Sidney Moncrief.
Okay, I did not know any of that, but I have a comp that I think Justin will actually like, which is I have the Chris Paul image here. I have Tony Parker as his comp, and a lot of the things you said I totally agree with. Right, he is the point guard. Right, he is the kind of the leader in some ways. He's very much like Tony Parker. He is more quiet than a lot of the traditional leaders that you'd see, but at the same time he is definitely like one of the leaders in team building and one of the leaders in the Cali Ice metagame. Also, I think it ties into Paul Chua, where Justin and Paul Chua have used like the same teams. They have the very similar like style of teams a lot of times, especially in restricted formats. They're both known for using Calirex Ice and doing very well with them. And so in that sense, I think that if Paul Chua is Tim Duncan, then Justin Burns being Tony Parker makes a lot of sense. Being a little less accomplished, but in the same sort of team, same sort of style of play.
Yeah, I like this one because Burns is also a huge Spurs fan, point guard.
Yep.
The only thing is I do think Burns is more of an MVP caliber player than Parker was.
Parker was really good. I think people downplay a little bit, but I think Parker, like in those, after the 2007 championship, like when they were competing for that championship, like the championships in the early 2010s, Parker was the best player on that team. Like, and it was, he got some, I think he was either second team or first team a few years. I think he was first team 1 year.
You think Parker was better than Duncan in those years?
No, he was better than Duncan in those years, for sure. Duncan was still the spiritual leader of the team, and he was a cornerstone of that team. But Parker was really, really good during those years, and people like I think underrate him a little bit during those years, because like you take it for granted how good he can be, like he was during those years, especially being surrounded by a great team and a great coach. And a lot of times, like when you have a great team around you, like some of the credit gets a little bit dispersed. But I will say, like,
I agree.
Parker was underrated during those years. Like he was actually very, very good.
Yeah, I just think Justin Burns is Justin Burns.
Yeah.
All right. So I for what it's worth, I did not even consider Sidney Moncrief. I do not know very much about Sidney Moncrief, so that's a cool comp.
Dude, he is an underrated legend. One of the few guards who's won Defensive Player of the Year twice.
I'll have to do my research. The next up, we got another Tubber. We got Joddy Azzarelli, 2014 Worlds runner-up, the guy who lost to Pachirisu. He got top 8 at Nats. He's gotten top 8 at Internats. He's never won a regional, despite being one of the best players in VGC history. He's also the internet funny man and the Twitter funny man. I think I've alluded to this enough. I have him as Charles Barkley. I think he's the perfect Charles Barkley. Most notable thing about Charles Barkley is he never won a ring, right? And so Joddy having all these accomplishments but never winning a major tournament is the perfect comparison. And then also same with the internet personality. I think they have the similar sort of personality and put themselves in a very public facing role.
Yeah, I could see that. For sure.
I agree.
I could see that. It's a good comp. Let me think. Is there another comp that could work for Joddy?
We've been saving Charles Barkley for so long. Everyone's been saying Charles. I'm like, nah, I got the Charles Barkley. I promise you.
That's fair.
Why'd I put the 0x regional wins on there? I said that NBA championships are more like winning regionals than winning worlds, and that's why I mentioned it. But yeah, also like, again, the biggest thing about Charles Barkley is he ain't got no rings, and that's what you got to think about with Joddy, right? All right. Any other thoughts about Joddy?
No, this checks out.
Yeah,
checks out.
This one's too perfect. All right. We got Gavin Michaels, the next Tubber or Tub adjacent person. U.S. national champion in 2013. 2023 Oceania international champion, and three-time regional champion. Three, right? Yeah. He's also currently serving a suspension for talking about hacked Pokemon or something like that. So the first of a few banned players on this list, I guess. Although he will get unbanned real soon. Who's got a comparison for Gavin?
One thing I want to add real quick is that he's one of the youngest national champions as well. I mean, I think Wolfe's the youngest. Like, it's really hard. He was born in December. But he also got top 8 the year right after in 2014. So the runs are crazy. Like, and 2 of those regional championships had been back to back in 2017.
Mm-hmm. Back to back California champion. Yeah.
California king.
Nah, okay. I think that the Ja Morant one is way too funny. I think that one is so good. Justin said it in chat for serving the suspension. But before the Ja Morant one, I was also gonna say Paul George. I think would be another comp that I would bring up.
Ja Morant's too funny.
Ja Morant's
flashing the Pika heads just like the Glock, bro. Like...
It's too funny.
I had a slightly different comp, same idea, but maybe a little older. Because I think Ja Morant, flashing a gun multiple times is a lot stupider than I think Gavin's done. I think, but
no, that's fair. I just think it's funny as all.
I have a different player who. So I have Carmelo Anthony. Never won an NBA title, which again I've been using the comparisons loosely. So in this context, never won a world championship, but he's won basically everything else in the same way that Melo has won basically everything else. He's won a college championship at Syracuse. He won an Olympic championship on Team USA, but he never won a world championship. And that's like winning Nats and winning Internats and winning regionals, but not quite winning worlds. Also, he has been suspended. He was suspended 15 games for punching a dude in his career. And so that is also somewhat similar to, obviously Gavin didn't punch a dude, but somewhat similar to getting suspended for...
Really? Gavin punched a guy?
Wait, what?
No. Just a suspension, dude.
So yeah, also kind of getting suspended for a decent period of time, not an extended period of time, is also part of that comp as well.
I think he might be Russell Westbrook to me, just for reasons of like, I guess like, I feel like Gavin was consistently just showing up to a tournament and doing super, super well, and the California connection. Russell Westbrook's from LA. I think he went to UCLA and Gavin went to USC though, so.
Yep.
You know, maybe there's that's too hot of a take because there's beef apparently. But I just feel like the triple double machine that Russell Westbrook is, and like the kind of play style that's so distinct is similar, because I think Gavin's the kind of player who only plays one team, but he's so good at it consistently, and he might not always get over the hump, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
It's a pretty good comp.
I like it. I like especially the California connection. I've been trying to do that as much as possible. But I have another Russell Westbrook comp that we might not even get to. We'll see if we get to it. That I like a lot more.
We can speed through a little.
Yeah, we can speed it up a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. So next up, we got Inos, 2013 national runner-up, losing to Gavin with one of the swaggiest plays of all time, where he side mega horned his Obama Snow and put himself in a position to have a chance to win. Still lost. He invented Tapu Fini, getting second place at a regional. back in San Jose Regionals in 2017 when no one was using Tapu Fini. How wrong we were back then. I wasn't playing; it wasn't my fault. He got I want to say top 4 at Worlds as a senior, and I think he got top 8 at Worlds as a master one year, way back in the day. Yeah, and I don't know if he's won a regional, but he's top cut a lot of them.
Dude, I feel like you've done this on purpose, by the way. Like the order that we're going in. Like, what the fuck, bro?
Listen, I put all the tubbers, and I started with old heads to new heads, other than Justin Burns, because I had Paul Chua, that I wanted to compare it to.
I think I have a comp.
Go for it.
I think he's Allen Iverson.
I love it. I love that comp too. It's not what I had, but I love it.
I think he's Allen Iverson because Allen Iverson was so influential. He didn't actually win anything, but just the style and his influence on the game of basketball is very similar to what Inos has done as teams. And Inos has also had some crazy shit, dude. Like some crazy teams, but like ultimately, he's always had a profound impact on the format.
I really like the Iverson comp. I didn't think of Iverson at the time, but this is actually a phenomenal comp.
Yeah.
Dropping my own. I had Bill Walton. And if you've ever listened to Bill Walton talk and you've ever listened to Inos talk, they are very similar. They are very like eccentric. They will go off on tangents and just ramble and forget about what they were originally talking about. But also just like obviously phenomenal players, brilliant people, very passionate. That's especially the thing that you get from Bill Walton. He's very, very passionate, and that's the same thing you get from Inos. And so I had the Bill Walton comp, but I also really like the Allen Iverson comp.
Yeah, I actually was wondering if I should save Allen Iverson literally for Michael, just because I think Michael's teams are crazy. But I think this makes a little bit more sense. Michael meaning ESM.
ESM.
Of course.
Michael, you got anything to add?
No, I don't really have anything to add. Inos was like before my time, so I haven't really watched him play at all.
All right.
I'm a baby metaphorically.
The next old head tubber we got is we got Colin Heier, 2-time regional champion, I believe. Did he win more than that?
No, I think he's just two.
Just 2-time regional champion. And he got top 4 at Worlds in 2014, and won 2 regionals, I believe, both in 2015. So yeah, and
also top 8 at OCIC 2020.
2020,
whatever, same year I did.
Yeah. The one that Tub was like all of Top Cut.
Yeah, the one that Gavin won.
Yep. Yeah. So of course, Raghav, you guys are besties, lovers. I'm not exactly sure what your relationship is. Well, you got a good comp for Colin?
I've met him a few times. I just kind of want to keep him in a Milwaukee thing. I want him as Ray Allen.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just not what I wanted. There's not really too much beyond it, other than his career took a different change. For a while, he was kind of like an elite 1A type guy, and then, then he became my, part of my little trio, kind of like what Ray Allen is on the Heat. But I think Colin's entering his second prime right now, so it's not perfect. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Ray was drafted by the Bucks or the Sonics?
The Sonics.
So did he ever play for the Bucks? Am I
Yeah, he
crazy?
played for the Bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he played for the Bucks.
Okay.
He was on the Sonics first, and then the Bucks second, and then he got traded to the Celtics.
Yeah. Otherwise, I was thinking
won that championship on the Celtics, and then.
Yeah, I don't know who peaked so early as him. From Milwaukee, because honestly, I think a huge part of Colin is that he's from Milwaukee. I have to say,
Michael Redd. How about that?
Michael Redd.
He was the player from Milwaukee back when I was a kid. Was Michael Redd, who was a superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got my comp. And my comp is because Colin is like the biggest hater. Like he will hate on anyone and everyone. And so I got Kevin Garnett as my comp. He's a big guy. He's a huge.
You know who the actual?
Yeah.
You know who the actual biggest hater is in the NBA is fucking Gilbert Arenas. He's the hater, man.
Dude, no. Okay, Colin's a better person than Gilbert Arenas. Come on.
Okay, that's fair. No, that's for sure. But if we're talking about haters,
Draymond.
Dude,
Green.
Colin's Draymond too. That's so funny.
Draymond's actually so funny.
Dude, I really wanted to do Draymond for Colin and Klay Thompson for Raghav, but I had a better Klay Thompson. Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that too. So So yeah, that's the personality trait that I honed in on, was just who's the biggest hater I can think of, because it's Colin and it's Kevin Garnett. All right,
No, I like it.
Michael, you
I
got
respect
thoughts?
that. I don't know if I have a great comp for Colin. No more thoughts though. I
All
think
right.
the KG one, the hater one, I like that a little bit.
All right.
I think
Next
it's funny.
up, the last like really old head that we got in Tub, that at least on my list, is Zach DoCamp, who is a 4-time regional champion. He won 3 regionals in a row in 2013, something that is still never been done by anyone else. And he also made Day 2 Worlds this year, so he's like still kicking, still playing. Hasn't
Oh,
obviously
yeah.
not as accomplished as he or not playing at the same level that he was back in the day, life and whatnot. But yeah, still a very good player. Also notably was the commissioner of NPA for a long period of time as well. Yeah. Anyone got a good Zach DoCamp comp? I had to think a little bit for this one.
I have a comp, and it's not a 1-for-1, but there's one thing I know Zach for,
Okay.
and Zach's just has the craziest takes. He has some absolutely crazy takes, like he thinks Trick Room is like the bane of all VGC or whatever, and he refuses to run
What?
Trick Room or whatever. And so when it comes to Zach, and if I think about that, who has the craziest takes in the NBA? I got to go with Kendrick Perkins as my pick
He's Perk, big Perk.
which
Kendrick Perk.
I think
Dude, Perkins
it's
is so ass though.
no, it's a little disrespectful to Zach from a player like on the court perspective, but I think from like a media perspective or like from his takes perspective, I think it's it's an apt comparison.
I think he's Larry Bird probably. Just because he's so old, and again the three-peat thing that's never gonna happen again. Stephen Burns said Larry Bird. I think he's probably Bird, but like Bird's probably a little more like historically better all time.
Mhm.
But hey man, it's different. We're just making comparisons here. I think he could be Bird.
That's reasonable. My comparison was George Meakin. Just in similar terms of like he won those 3 regionals in a row, just like George Meakin was just dominating the NBA, just in a very very different era, right? And so you look at George Meakin's championships.
Oh, they look similar.
They look so.
Yeah.
You look at George Meakin's
Yeah.
championships, and it's also kind of like kind of like how I look at Zach Dro's regional wins. And then also, fun fact: George Meakin was the commissioner of the ABA before it joined with the NBA, which is a lot like Zach being the commissioner of the NPA for a period of time. So I like that little comparison too.
That's a cool little tidbit.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's hard. Some of these get really hard, right? We stop talking about some of the best players and we start talking about mediocre players like Nick Navarre. We have to who how many are left? We are down to number 24. I had 63, so we might not get done. We might have to split this up. Maybe come back.
We
to
probably
this
have to go halfway, right?
Yeah, we'll probably get to go halfway. We'll try to get done with all the tubbers. I think we have how many tubbers do we have? 30 up down to 36 is tub. So I think we can get there. And then maybe we can add some more players.
Let's do that.
How'd you come up with 63 of these? It took a lot of time. So okay, so Niels, just coming off of a grand challenge win, he also won a whatever was internet IC at the time, international challenge back in 2017. So won 2 of these massive online tours. Also a 2-time regional champion. Top cut North American Internet in 2017 with Chancey Buswell, I believe. I'm sure he has other accomplishments, lots of regional top cuts, but British that sums it up. We all know him, we all love him. Anyone got a good comp?
I have 2 in mind just from Michigan. I think he could be. Well, I'm just gonna say I think he could be George Gervin, just because he's got some. I think Nails also has a distinct play style that I find really cool, and I feel like George Gervin was kind of influential for, I don't know, just kind of the style of play for his size, I guess. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like George Gervin was a pretty influential player, and he's from Michigan, so that's kind of where I'm. Nails is from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
He is, yeah.
That's what I got.
He's wearing the Michigan hat in the photo.
I hope he feels good. Maybe Chris Webber, I guess is what Bruno said as well.
Chris Webber, but Chris Webber had actually maybe I could see. I could
The
see Chris
other,
Webber actually. He's had Chris Webber like earlier in his career, like similar to Nick. He had a little bit of controversy surrounding him. Like there was some stuff that happened. So like
uh,
during his Michigan days, Chris Webber
Mm-hmm.
got in some trouble. So I
Called a
could see
timeout.
that.
The Fab Five.
Yeah, the Fab Five back all the way back in the day.
I also think he could be D-Book, I guess.
Deep book. All right. I've also
I could.
got. Go ahead.
All right. So sorry. So I could also see like a Kevin Garnett maybe, or I'm trying to think. Maybe like oh,
I think
if we're
Niels is
going
a
like
power forward
Jordan,
center.
if we're going Wolf as Jordan, I like Isaiah Thomas for Nick. Like I
We
know
got there.
they've had some beef. Um, so I think
I
that
like
one's
IT a
a
lot.
good comparison.
I think Isaiah Thomas is the perfect comparison because Nails, two-time regional champion, Isaiah Thomas, two-time NBA champion, both in the Pistons from Michigan. But also notably, so Isaiah Thomas, Jordan thanked in his, I think his Hall of Fame speech or something. Jordan thanked Isaiah Thomas for giving him the motivation he needed after Isaiah Thomas did not pass him the ball in an All-Star game. That is Jordan's like evil villain arc. Is he was like, I hate Isaiah Thomas. I'm going to be the best player in the NBA. I don't know if that's exactly true, but that was true. If
Well, also like that, I guess from first-hand history, like the early days of Jordan's career when he was like a scoring machine, like he was scoring 30 points per game, but every single time he would go to the playoffs, he would get bounced early in the playoffs by the Pistons. The Pistons were the best team in the East back then, and
Bad
um,
boys.
the bad boy Pistons. They won back-to-back, or either back-to-back or 2 and 3 years or something, championships, and that involved kicking Jordan out of the playoffs. And so early in his career, Jordan's like biggest rival was Isaiah Thomas. Like that was how it was. Like before he could break through, it was always Isaiah Thomas beating him every year in the playoffs. And then
mm-hmm.
after Isaiah Thomas got good, like nobody could beat him anymore. Or sorry, after Jordan got good, like nobody was able to beat him anymore. But
And I'm sure Nails will point out in chat what his record against Wolf is. But yeah, no. And then notably, if you didn't know, Wolf and Nails they had some beef back in 2017. And so I like the comp because Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan also had that little bit of beef, a little bit of rivalry. And so yeah, I think that's also a pretty cool aspect of the comparison if you like the Wolf Jordan comp as well. So
You're convincing me on the Jordan Wolf shit. Everything's lining up, dude.
it adds up so well. Don't worry,
Dude,
I got LeBron Jordan in part 2. I guess we're gonna get to some LeBron and LeBron Wolf comparisons. And then next up we got Michael Zhang, one-time regional champion, won Sacramento regionals, relatively new to VGC, coming off of I want to say log and storage DOU career. Would you say that's accurate?
No, it's pretty short and also pretty new. Like I played a lot of Smoke on not DOU before that. Like, but yeah, like I was never really that good.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna ask you for your comp for yourself. But I will ask Raghav what you think Michael's comp is.
So I kind of said earlier, I think Michael could be AI, but I actually think he's the better ball handler. I think he's Kyrie. And I think it's because Kyrie's game is so just like beautiful to watch and also kind of crazy. His finishing ability is literally, it's like he doesn't even want to do a normal layup. Like he has to do a jelly. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Michael's kind of the same. They're also both freaks, so something like that.
And
Yeah, definitely an anti-vaxxer for sure.
Michael's like this VTuber, I don't know.
yeah. All right. My comp for Michael is Rudy Gobert. And here's why.
Damn.
So Rudy Gobert
Anti-vax as well.
Rudy Gobert is not a top 10 player, but he's a top 50 player right now, which is kind of where I put Michael. Right, and I think that's globally right. One of the top 50 players in the world. Not one of the players who would expect to win worlds, but certainly one of the players I expect that could cut worlds.
Damn, you're brutal.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Rudy Gobert is you can't put Rudy Gobert on any team in the league and expect him to play well. In the same way that you can't give Michael any team and expect him to do well. If you give Michael boring balance, he'd be okay, but he wouldn't be Michael fucking Zhang. And I think that's true of Rudy Gobert. I think that you need to build your team around Rudy Gobert in the same way that you need to, like, Michael has to have a very specific Michael team to do well. But when he finds it, he is the centerpiece of that team. He is the perfect fit, and obviously won a regional. And so I think that's like, yeah, I think that's a pretty fair comparison, because in terms of level of play, in terms of the current NBA, on top of or at least career wise, and as well as in terms of how they fit, I guess, is why I like this comp.
I think this is good because Rudy Gobert is Como. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think this works.
Bro. Okay, I don't hate the comparison for the reasons that you mentioned, but the thing with Gobert is that people fucking hate Gobert.
What's the problem?
So
No, I'm
I don't know.
kidding.
Maybe you guys are talking about me like that behind closed doors. I
Bro,
don't
he
know,
said it in front of you. He said he doesn't think you could win Worlds. That was crazy. No, I think the
fair.
personality comp's way too hard. You're definitely not Rudy in that sense, but I kind of was buying more into it when Adi was explaining it. I still feel it's Kyrie just because of the flair, and early Kyrie was very, very hyped prospect. You kind of just wanted to see what he was doing before LeBron got there, even.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
Yeah.
He was. He played number one overall pick. Played at Duke. Got hurt, so we didn't get to see what he did. Yeah. All right. Let's keep going. Next up, we got me. Hey, it's me. I'm also in Tub. I actually did have to make a comp for myself, but I think other people are going to get it. So 5-time regional top cut. No regional wins.
Oh, that's way more than I thought.
And then I get my friends on my YouTube channel quite often, and I have a pog face, and man, I had really nice hair in this photo. I got to use this. I got to use this as a thumbnail at some point. So I guess I'll let you guys sound off on me. I just insulted Michael, so Michael gets to insult me back.
I have the perfect Adi comp. I think Adi would be Jeff Teague, who was a great player back in the day.
That's so good.
Never a superstar, but like he was an all-star a couple times, and also now is most notably known for his podcast, and he's a great podcast guy, by the way. If you have never watched Jeff Teague's podcast, he has some of the funniest stories of anyone like on YouTube. Like he tells these stories of some of his times in the NBA, and he is so fucking funny. So I would recommend you guys check him out. But I think Adi is most well known nowadays for his content creation, creating or being like a big part of Tub and his YouTube channel and stuff. And he was still he still plays and he has some good finishes for sure. And Jeff Teague was not a scrub. He was like an all-star and was a starter for most of his time in the NBA. So I think it's a good comparison.
Yeah, I was gonna go with JJ Redick actually for similar reasons, because also that Adi's a huge fucking data nerd, and JJ Redick's also a huge analytics nerd. Podcast again, and JJ Redick was no scrub, dude. I think he might be better than Adi, so I don't know.
Yep. Yeah, no.
I think both of these are actually really fire.
I did not know Jeff Teague had a podcast. I got to go check that out. It sounds like it's a
dude.
Jeff Teague's podcast is so funny,
so good.
All right, I will have to check that out. I like both those comps. Yeah, I had JJ Redick as myself for the same reason. Just like I'm mostly well known because I get my friends on my YouTube channel, and not because of my playing accomplishments. Even though I'm like solid, right? So, yeah, same idea.
I think you're good, bro.
I'm all right.
You've been doing good.
All right. We all agree though. And so with that, let's go on to Rajan. I saw Rajan in chat. One-time regional champion. Won Indianapolis regionals with Maridon. Got second place at Toronto regionals in 2018. With Verizian. And did he top cut Nats in 2016 or just get top 32 at Nats in 2016?
He got like top 12.
Okay, something like that. So
yeah, top 24 or something. I don't remember.
Top 24. Okay, something like that. So and then notably, he is better at building other people's teams than his own. He helped team build Emilio Forbes's second place world team, Alvin's regional championship team. There's definitely other examples of that. I know he's built some of the teams that I've used to reasonable success as well. Yeah. And then of course he built the world's winning team, right? He built the Maridon. He's the inventor of Maridon. Also won a GC. I forgot about that. Yes, he did win one of the international challenges as they were called back then. And so, all right, anyone got a good Rajan comp?
Maybe like Muggsy Bogues or something. It's pretty
'Cause he's
limited
short?
by
Is
like
that why?
factors. Yeah, he's just like there's only so good you can really be when you're not playing that much.
Oh my god. That's
I'm not sure
crazy.
though. Like I think he's definitely a point guard because of the team's pass. The passing of the
Yeah,
teams.
yeah. I was gonna say Rondo because he can't shoot. You know, it's
And his
like
name's
Oh,
Rajan.
Rondo's a good one. The names work
Dude, that's
out
crazy.
too.
Dude, no, he's Rondo. That's locked in.
Y'all are brutal with these comps. We're being especially brutal with our friends, I think. But Rajon Rondo also. I actually really like the Rajon Rondo just because their names sound similar too.
They're perfect.
I had one.
I think it's really good.
I had one that's a little more in the weeds. I had Boris Dia, who, if you go back in the day,
Wow.
he was the point forward for the Steve Nash era Suns. Right, was a vital part of those teams that were so fun to watch, so cool. The same way that Rajan didn't actually like really win much of anything. Back in the day, he was getting good results, but he was definitely but one of the core pieces of that team. But I don't think that you'd look at Steve Nash and Amari Stoudemire the same way without Boris Diaw being on that team. And then afterwards, Rajan went through this funk where he was like going through a special snowflake phase. I'm being really brutal on Rajan, but went through a special snowflake phase where he like tried to be a little too creative and kind of had a streak of bad results that culminated in running Clefable, Polito, Dialga at Milwaukee Regionals that we still make fun of him for.
What the hell?
Yeah. But like,
I didn't know about
and
that.
so
What the
so
hell?
Boris Diaw, much like that, had a really strong early career, and then when he kind of went off on his own and tried to be his own like star player, he found himself on the worst team ever in the Charlotte team that won 7 games in a season. He was on that team. And then after that, kind of like, I don't know, maybe motivated again, kind of found his place again in the game, and came back with a vengeance and was on the Spurs team that won some championships. And so he won a championship with the Spurs, and has continued to continue to be an excellent point forward. But I think, yeah, like you said, the point guard type role and the role player who's like an especially creative role player, especially unique role player, fits the description pretty well. So I like the Boris
Yeah,
Diaw for that reason.
I like the Boris Dio comp.
I also like it because Rajan also came from Smogon, and he's like what, French or something? Where's Boris Dio from?
Yeah, French.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I feel like it's kind of similar if you played in the like professional league there and then come. Yeah, like I think that makes sense. Also, he won Most Improved Player. I just looked up, and I don't know. I think Rajan's actually improved a lot. Like I think he's been pretty good recently.
Yeah. Now, if I really want to roast Rajan, I could say Rajan Rondo is a really good personality fit too.
No, it is. Yeah,
he won't
it
get that
is,
reference
it is.
either. It's great. Okay. Next up, we got my boy Alex Underhill, Mr. Top Nation TV himself, 3-time regional champion, got top 8 at nationals in 2015. Feel free to sound off any other accomplishments that you want to, Alex. I see you in chat. I know you aren't going to get any of these references either, but yeah, who's got a good comp for Alex?
I think he's Ginobili.
Ooh, okay.
Just because yeah, because I think
if we're
Alex,
continuing with the line of thought of the Tony Parker.
yes, there's that.
Okay, sure,
There's
sure.
also that Alex always uses freaky teams, and I think Manu's kind of just one of the most creative players, most fun players to watch. The other thing is, I think that Alex doesn't get enough credit for his accomplishments. Maybe I'm just like biased, even though he's my friend and I hate him. I think he's one of the best players like I've ever seen. Just because even when I don't expect him to do well, I never don't expect him to do well, but maybe the prep wasn't going well. He'll finish like the same record as the person in cut. Like he'll bubble 10th or something. He'll just like, and when he wins, he's dominant as fuck. So I think that the perception of him is similar to how I think Manu could be, not a sixth man. He could be like one of the best players on the starting 5. Like he could be the best player on a team, but he sacrificed that for the success of the team. So it's not a perfect comparison, but I think it's funny when if Burns is also Tim. Yeah, I mean Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that from that perspective it works well. I think to add a little bit to that, I think Manu was also like really well respected by his peers and like people who really know the game a lot. I think you'll see a lot of people who respect Manu a lot, especially if you watch during that era, if you're a big fan during that era. Um,
Oh, Emilio's
that
trying to
said,
keep us to
Alex has
play.
gone so boring recently. He's not like Manu at all in that sense. Like he's just using boring teams all the time, man.
See, this is Kyrie talking right here. Some crazy shit he's saying.
All right. I got a slightly different. I do like the Manu Ginobili comp. I didn't even think about Manu Ginobili with respect to Tony Parker and Justin Burns. I like that. I like that a lot. I had a slightly different comp for a slightly different reason. So, 3-time regional champion. I had Paul Silas, who won 3 NBA championships. He won his first two. I believe, on the Celtics. Before moving to Seattle, just like Alex did, and winning another championship in Seattle, just like Alex did. So I like that. He was a 2-time All-Star, 2-time All-Defensive Team. So very accomplished player as well. But notably, if you know Paul Silas nowadays, you probably know him not as a player but as a coach. And Alex also notably does coaching, does content creation, all that stuff. Hopefully is a better coach than Paul Silas. Paul Silas started coaching in 1980, San Diego Clippers, but is again most well known for being the coach of that 2012 Charlotte Bobcats team that was the worst team of all time. And so, but
that's a crazy thing to say.
But
Dude, I think Alex is actually a really good coach too.
And the thing is, like, yeah, like I mean, that wasn't Paul Silas's fault, right? That was just like the team had no talent on it. And Paul Silas has spent, I think, something like 15, 20 years as a coach in the NBA. So he coached for a long time as well. So between the Seattle connection, the three championships, and the coaching, I like I picked the Paul Silas comp. Although, yes, obviously the very end of Paul Silas's coaching career was not very flattering.
Okay, I think inheriting the Clippers and the Bobcats is probably the worst luck you can get. But Alex has proven to be a good coach because he's carried Colin to 2 regional cuts now.
Yeah, I feel like seeing some of the stuff behind the scenes. I'm gonna bring up like Jason Kidd maybe as a comp, because I feel like Alex has been a great facilitator, of like he's always one organizing and like being a little bit of like the mastermind behind a lot of the teams, even if they don't even if he doesn't end up being the best finish with them. Like we saw like at LA regionals, I think both Rajan and Colin did better than him, although he had still made day 2 with the team. But like there's been a lot of situations like that, and especially like in Gen 9 at least, where he's been played a lot more of like a facilitator role while still being like a great player. So yeah, and then Jason Kidd's also a coach now, so you could throw that.
Yeah, I
That's true.
agree. I think
comparison
Alex
in
does
there.
a lot of the weight of organizing stuff and getting the agenda done.
Mm-hmm. Also, did you know that Paul Silas was also the coach of the Cavs for rookie LeBron James? And then I didn't know that because apparently Dan Gilbert, who bought the team, fired him midway through the season. And then the Cavs collapsed immediately afterwards. So I didn't know that. Okay, yeah, Paul Silas has a lot of really unfortunate coaching stops. He took over for Larry Brown on the Bobcats. Oh man, he had some tough luck.
That's so funny. Alex gotten a bit unlucky with the like he's bubbled a bunch of cuts recently, so you could kind of throw those parallels as well if you want.
Those teams are so bad they don't even exist anymore. Like, come on.
Yep. San Diego Clippers, Charlotte Bobcats. Yeah. All right. Next cover, we got Chuppa Cross the fourth. One-time regional champion, won Toronto regionals this last 2023, so last year. Has probably best known for being runner-up at a whole lot of regionals. I couldn't tell you how many, but he finally broke through and won one. He's also top cut, I believe, 2 internets. Might be mistaken about that. Yeah, who's got a...
At least. I don't know, honestly. This is one I should have thought about more.
I'm gonna let you guys think.
Because he got his regional win so late, you know what I'm saying? But he had a really dominant season.
Yeah, I have 2 like kind of comps, but they don't really fit perfect. I think one would be like James Harden, who like and the other would be Jimmy Butler, and like, and that's in the sense that they're both like been super storied careers, and for a lot of Chupa's career, it was like the storyline was about him not winning the regional. He's always gotten second or like come close, but you've always expect him to do well, and that's kind of like where Harden has been. But he also does, like in Butler's case, it's kind of been a similar story, but like in Butler's case, you always think of him as like a playoff riser, where like that's kind of the expectation for Chupa, where you maybe don't see him like behind the scenes prepping super hard or whatever. But when it comes to actual events and regionals, he like always shows up and plays super well. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I'm at.
It's interesting. I also think that the story arc of Harden is kind of cool, from like sixth man to becoming like a, because like I think Chupa's play style used to be super balanced, and then like in his peak he was just hyper offense dozo. Like it's kind of like sixth man to the most heliocentric player of all time.
All right. I'm gonna do my. I did not have a great comparison, so I just did a funny one for this one. Chop across the fourth is Lonnie Walker the fourth. They're the fourth. They're the fourth. They both are from Brooklyn, and they both are the fourth. It just it lines up.
He's the Brooklyn Mr. Beast.
All right. So we got a sub from Emilio. Thank you for gifting a sub to TC Gomez. And that means we have to do the we have to do what he asked, which is who is the player comp for Jonathan Mendelez, who is Wacka, who's got
Melendez, right?
Excuse me, Melendez. Yes. Who is Wacka?
Oh, I already have one already.
Wacka's got to be Brian Scalabrine, right?
I was just gonna pick like Jordan Poole or some shit, like a DC player has been terrible.
No, I love the Brian Scalabrine comp, man. He's been on some of the best teams. He's never really been a huge contributor on the best team, but he's part of Gaz, right? And he's certainly a very good player. He's certainly he's caught a few regionals, but at least caught one regional. But man, he's best known for being friends with some really good players and for talking a lot of trash. And that does sound like Wacka to me.
No, dude, I think it could be Jordan Poole, because I love Wacka and I used to love Jordan Poole, and they talk so much shit they can never back up. Like, but I actually think Wacka is one of the nicest dudes in the community, like straight up.
Absolutely, yeah. Fun fact: did you know Wacka is the first person I ever beat at a VGC tournament?
That's crazy.
That is huge.
Yeah. Hartford 2017. I lost round 1, and then I played Wacka round 2, and he had a game loss because of some team sheet error, and so I beat him, and he immediately dropped from the tournament.
Dude, Chad has so many good ones. Dude, JaVale McGee.
Nick Young is crazy.
Dude, I had so many ideas for Nick Young, and I never found one that fit.
Nah, I'm a big fan of the Brian Scalabrine one. I think that's pretty good. Because like the thing is, like, most people who travel to tournaments, who have caught regionals, who like play this game that enough, are like good at Pokemon. And I know we look at it as like we're looking at the best of the best, right? Like even me sitting here comparing myself to ESM and to Raghav, who have won regionals and are just a level above me, right? Like I still know that I'm good at Pokemon, and compared to most people who play VGC, most people play VGC pretty casually. Even most people who go to regionals don't do very well. So like I know I'm pretty good. Wacka, probably a step below me, but still very good in the grand scheme of things at Pokemon. Still put a lot of practice in, done very well. And so I think that Brian Scalabrine, especially the guy who talks like is the person who's willing to say that. I think that I think that's a pretty good comp. And yo, Gary, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. If you got a request, we'll get that too. And while we're doing requests, I guess let's do another tub one because we got a minute here.
Yeah.
We got Raghav. Oh shit, we got Raghav. Okay, so Raghav, one-time regional champion, won a California regional. Was that San Diego regionals? No.
Anaheim regionals.
One of the SoCal regionals back in
I
2019.
beat Deagle Beagle in finals, who I've also beaten in court.
Correct. Yeah, just like the basketball court. And then And then also 3-time Internat's top cut, most notably getting second place at 2023 NAIC. Crazy season because you got second place at that Internats, and you had top 8 at OCIC the same year. So
Top 4.
top 4 at that year. And so yeah, I guess Michael, do you have a comp for Raghav?
Yeah. I got a comp. I have Raghav as Kevin Durant because I think he's super well respected by his peers. And then also has like legitimately great accolades. But the thing that I liked about the comparison was that KD always on Twitter, making some controversial arguing with fans or whatever, and Raghav got a little bit of that same vibes on Twitter. So
I mean, he's got more burners than me for sure. I say my
no,
shit
for
on
sure.
main. But dude, that's so fucked, bro. I think also low key Kevin Durant's better than me, but yeah, I appreciate that one honestly because I think he's one of the goats, dude.
Mm-hmm. All right.
What do you think, Ali?
So
Where you got KD on your all-time list, man?
Ooh.
I don't know if he's top 20.
Dude, I don't know. You know I'm a Steph truther. I don't know where he is.
I got this one was hard because I wanted to do Klay Thompson. I know you're a Warriors fan. I like to keep that connection. He's also a stoner, and you're kind of a stoner, and so I think that
I didn't know that.
kind of lines up. But yeah, and then also I like the we were talking about how you Colin Chemo. At least Colin gives me Draymond vibes, and so you can be the Klay. But then also Chemo is also kind of like Klay. There isn't really a Steph in the group.
You, I'm the Steph. Come on, I'm way better than both of them. I'm better than Klay Thompson. Like, dude.
Okay, so I had to do some digging. I actually did my research for this one. And I found Cliff Robinson, Uncle Cliffy. You know who this guy is?
Dude, this guy, I went to high school with his nephew.
Okay. Oh, so you do know who he is.
Yes, his nephew. I went to middle school and high school with him.
That's crazy. Okay. So yeah. So let me tell you about Cliff Robinson for those who don't know, because I had to do my research for this one. He is a 6'10" power forward. He's the first big man to make 1,000 3-pointers in the NBA. He is a 2-time All-Defensive Team, 1-time All-Star, 6th Man of the Year. So like the perfect team player. He had an 18-year career across 5 different teams, including Raghav's hometown Golden State Warriors. He is, and Uncle Cliffy is a nickname that I think Raghav would also, it sounds like something that you would choose for yourself as well. That's the vibes I get, at least.
New Uncle Cliffy VGC.
And so yeah, just like the ultimate team player, Raghav, as you probably know, has not only team builds for Colin and Chemo, but also a team build for like half of Tub for a long time. I've stolen Raghav's teams and done really well with them in Players Cup, I think multiple times. So that's also part of being the ultimate team player. And then on top of that, yeah. So I got it. He was on Survivor. After he retired, he had a very so he was at a very interesting post-retirement time. Dude was on Survivor. Dude went to North Korea as part of what was his name? Dennis Rodman's like basketball diplomacy effort. Which sounds like something that Raghav would do. And
I would do that.
And then he also
so
advocated for legalizing marijuana in Oregon, and then started a pot shop in Oregon when he retired. All 3 of those things are just things that I think Raghav would do. So
this is based as fuck. Yeah, I'm with it.
Hell yeah, that's so funny.
That's so fire. And he's a big man, right?
Yeah, he's 6'10". 6'10" big man. Shoot 3-pointers.
There we go. This is based. I'm with it.
Yeah. All right. And then all right. Next up, getting through Tub. We're almost through Tub, and then I think we're gonna call it, and we're gonna try starting with the Europeans next time, which I'm not sure when we'll do it, but we'll figure it out because it's been a lot of fun, but it's going a little long. So next up for Tub, we've got Sohaib, who has, I believe, 4 regional top cuts. I'm not entirely sure about that. He is 3 Internats top 16s. But has never top cut in Internets. He had bubbles like literally every event ever. Most notably at the start of 2023 when we had top 32 cuts, he bubbled Orlando and San Diego at 33rd place in back-to-back regionals, which is crazy. And yeah, and also like one of the nicest people in the community. He is the first friend I made in the VGC community. He beat me at Hartford regionals. one of the first friends I made. But like he took me under his wing at that regional and introduced me to a lot of people and was a big part of me getting into the community. And still one of my best friends today. And so yeah, Sohaib, super nice guy. Everyone loves him. Like one of the most universally beloved players as well. On top of that, very friendly. Who is anyone got a Sohaib comp?
Maybe just because of the irony, is he Jerry West? Because he's like always getting second and well, not second, but bubbling. But also Jerry West was not known to be the nicest guy ever. I don't know. Who did you guys have?
Because okay, so I'm flattering. Yes, that's funny as hell. I think the other comparison, the one that came to mind for me is Paul George, because he's gotten super unlucky throughout a lot of his career. He's gotten put in a little bit bad situations, like with the Clippers and Kawhi, and then in Indiana he was constantly having to deal with LeBron, and he's also dealt with injury concerns, and then he was on the Thunder with Westbrook and like all of this other stuff. So he's gotten some unlucky situations. Also, like Paul George is super well respected among his peers. Like he's he's a little bit in that category of like one of your favorite players kind of deal, where like the fans don't see him as like that beast or whatever, but like if you talk to like people in the know, like they really respect Paul George a lot. So I could see that kind of being a good comparison for Sohaib.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw.
I could say Dame too.
Dame is a little too good, is my thought.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Paul George isn't good enough. Holy.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
that's fair.
I think
that's
Paul
fair.
George is I think Dame also just never makes it. Like he made the Western Conference Finals once, right?
Okay, yeah, that's true. I do love Dame. Dame is maybe my favorite player, or was my favorite player in the NBA outside of the Mavericks for a while. So I like that. I saw Abai say DeMarcus Cousins, which also kind of fits in terms of like demeanor, in terms of the way that he's just like, not ever found the right fit in terms of it's kind of like not, bubbling out of regionals.
Demeanor?
DeMarcus Cousins was a rager.
He's like, well, that's the thing. Sohaib is also a rager on ladder, but then he's like the nicest guy, and I think DeMarcus Cousins also has a reputation of being like a really nice guy outside of when he's playing basketball. So I kind of see that.
Funny.
Maybe, yeah, sure.
But
I could see it maybe.
Danny Granger is my pick, which is very similar to the Paul George pick. Maybe a little older, but also a Pacers player, where Danny Granger was the led the Pacers in scoring from 2007 to 2012. He was a one-time All-Star in that time period because it's the Pacers, not a big media market, and they kind of sucked. In fact, not only not only that, they were the 9th or 10th seed in the East 4 times in those 5 years. So he bubbled the playoffs for the 5 years of his prime. This
is good.
Yeah, he was a relatively quiet player, all things considered, not like super outspoken or anything, but generally like very well liked. But despite that, only was a one-time All-Star. But like again, one of those guys who, if you the rest of the player base, I think, really liked Danny Granger in the same way that you were talking about. So yeah, I like Danny Granger.
I like Danny Granger. I think it's a little bit more apt of a comparison than Paul George.
No, this is good, especially because like I feel like I'm not as familiar with Danny Granger. Like I don't think I would have pulled that one, but it kind of fits who Sohaib is, like perspective-wise. He's actually so good, but small market team, kind of missing the playoffs despite it. I like it.
All right. Next up, we got John Hu, who is another Tubber, now moved to Japan. And he qualified for Worlds out of the Japanese system this past year as well. Getting top 64 at Japan Nationals. He got top 8 at the 2015 U.S. Nationals. That was his first breakout performance. I don't know how many regionals he's top cut. He's been playing for a long time, but he uses weird stuff like consistently. He top cut a regional with Eternatus, which was the last one that I remember, which was at Vancouver 2022. Summit does well. Like one of the weirdest players. He qualified for Worlds this year using a Moltres team, like a Cantonian Moltres team, to qualify for Japan Nationals. Anyone got a good comp for John Hu?
I was thinking Lance Stevenson.
Lance Stevenson is crazy.
That was where my thought went. Because isn't John also from like Indiana, low-key?
He is. Yeah, he's from Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was thinking Lance Stevenson just because, like, I don't know how you really translate the craziness of team building, but I just think he's one of the funniest, craziest players on the court. So I was thinking Lance, bro.
I like it. Michael, what do you think?
People in chat are saying Jason Williams, which I like the comp for. I think I was also going to think like what are like the most unique NBA players. So I was thinking like Luke Cornett maybe
Luke Cornett.
or like I don't know. I feel like that's not that apt of a comparison because John's a better player than
Yeah, but
Luke
then there's
is,
also
but
like Dennis Rodman and shit, and like I think Dennis Rodman maybe is too crazy or too
it's a little bit too crazy.
maybe too good too. I don't know. Well,
um,
actually, I don't know. I'm pretty mixed feelings on Rodman as a player. I think I value his rebounding a lot more than other people.
oh no, I mean he was analytics loved
He
Dennis
was
Rodman.
great.
He was a really really good player, but just like absolutely crazy too.
He-
I think he's crazy in a very different way than John is crazy though.
yeah, yeah. John is pretty mellow like off the court
Mhm.
or like
Yeah,
off
John's
like
really
what
chill.
or like his on like if you want to compare like on the court to being like the craziest team builder or whatever, it's like the a style that like you never see from other people, I guess, would be like
Mhm. I
the
so
thing that you would compare John to.
I had John Hu as Sean Marion. Because if you ever
Sean
watch Sean
Shot
Marion.
Marion
Marion.
play, he has the weirdest
Yeah.
jump shot imaginable. He was like actually like a passable shooter, just like had a really really weird form, and that's like my comp of using weird teams. Four-time All-Star, NBA champion, never got an All-Defensive Team consideration despite being a really really good defender. I think he should have. Watching that Mavs run, he shut down LeBron James, shut down Kevin Durant, shut down Kobe Bryant. But yeah, just the weirdest shooting form in the NBA. And in terms of like caliber of player, right, where four-time All-Star, that's kind of where I see like John Hu's level of play at. So and then yeah, just the weirdness of the way he plays.
I like it. I like the just making it a shooting form thing
Yeah, I could see that.
because it still works despite it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and then we got four more players in Tub that we could talk about. And the first one is Carson Confer, who was the senior world champion all the way back in 2016. He is the Latin American international champion in 2018, I believe, with Rain. He quit VGC for Fortnite, and then he came back, and he's still cutting regionals and whatnot, but not quite at the same level where he's winning internets. And obviously, what I love about watching the senior world champions is you get to see their pictures as a little kid, and you can see the glow up. And so he's definitely grown up quite a bit.
This is a tough one, dude. Because again, I think the winning senior worlds is something that we should take into account with the comp.
Yo,
I
Agati,
still know
thank
how
you
to
for the
do
raid.
that.
I don't know that much about like college, I guess would be like maybe a closer comparison, but like I was
Or
thinking
rookie of the
maybe like
year, maybe.
yeah, I was thinking something like Clay Thompson maybe, where he was really really good and then he got horrific injuries or whatever, and then he came back and was still good, but
Dude, I think
has
Carson's
has, like
better than Clay. Low key, his peak was crazy. Like, like 2018, he top cut Worlds 2, and he won LAIC that year with the same like crazy Rain Sizzler team.
Mm-hmm.
2017 post Worlds, he got top 8 at EUIC. He won a regional, I think. Wait, has he won a regional?
I
No,
don't
he
know.
got DQ'd from one too that was
No,
like undefeated in Swiss at or something.
he didn't go
I
undefeated
don't
in
know.
Swiss, but he did get DQ'd with he had Luminion on that team and he got DQ'd.
Oh, okay.
And then yeah, that's when he quit VGC for Fortnite for a couple years.
Yeah. No, I think he was really good. Maybe Clay isn't bad. I just think that like Clay was never the number one option on a team, and I think Carson's like when he was popping off, he was really really good.
Yeah. All right. I think you guys might like my comp. Just because it's
Yeah.
aesthetically pleasing as well. It's Gordon Hayward. He's look at the glow up, man. It's the same glow up. So Gordon
Why
Hayward
does
was came out of nowhere and was on Butler in college and got all the way to the NCAA finals with Butler. Not quite the same as winning the senior world championships, but sort of similar. He was like superstar player, right? It was just like absolutely incredible on the Jazz. And then had a tragic injury that really impacted his career. And he hasn't ever really been the same player. He's been a solid player since then, but not quite the same. And then also, yeah, Gordon Hayward also probably plays a little too much Fortnite. So he's got that comparison as well.
I think another thing which I've told Carson before is that they both look like the president of the Young Republicans at their university. Like this could totally work. This is perfect.
We're Where do you get
Oh,
this pick
sorry.
of Carson? If you Google Carson Confer, it's like the second pick. I think it's from his LinkedIn or something. Uh, yeah. Well, I picked a picture that would look like Gordon Hayward. He has some more casual looking photos as well. All right. Next up, we got the three European tubbers that I want to talk about. So first and foremost, we got Michael Derbesti, Michael Kelsch. He got runner up at Worlds. He got top 4 at Worlds in this past year. So back to back Worlds, runner up and then top 4. Unbelievable. Very, very few players have done that. He also, in that time period, won a regional. And this is his first 2 seasons playing VGC. And on top of all of that, he is also the greatest Rainbass player of all time. He has like 3 accounts in the top 3 right now. So absolutely absurd. You're talking about players who might be in the GOAT discussion, right? Michael Derbesti, he is the player who I think is, if there's anyone on this list who's ever going to become the greatest player of all time, MDB might be the one who is in line for it, who has a chance to get there.
Okay, I think he's Luca, not Wemby, because we haven't seen Wemby do what Michael's essentially done.
Okay.
I think he's Luca. Yeah, I think he's totally Luca.
We've had this a little bit of discussion before. I've got him on Wemby. I think he's a little bit he's a little bit further along in his career than Wemby is. But like the comparison works so well because like if you think about Smogon as kind of like the European league or whatever, MDB has been like hyped up for so many years. Like he was
So was Luca.
Right. I mean, like similar kind of deal, but like he was hyped up for so many years. Like he dominated in Ranbats first, and then he went to play OU and other lower tiers like like PU, whatever, NU, these other tiers, and then eventually made the jump to VGC, and in his first season just completely dominated. He like was way better than people expected at the beginning. Like, we even though we knew that he was great, like he was like even better than people thought, like early in his career, which I mean, I guess it kind of works for both of these players.
You're just
But
describing Luca to me, bro. Like the reason why I think it's actually almost perfect, it's just if you inverse Michael's finishes, it's actually literally the same as Luca in the last 2 years. Like, right? No, not 2 years. The year before. The year before.
It's like last 3 years, yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's almost perfect. I also think I have a Wemby comp for someone else later that's more perfect to me.
I also have a Wemby comp later. The
I
other
think
thing,
it's the same person, probably.
probably. The other thing I have about Luca is that so MDB, just like Luca, you're a player who everyone knew would be a superstar as soon as he got into VGC, and holy shit, what do you know? Here he is. And then the other thing, like I mentioned, is that if there's any current player in the NBA who I think could fight for the greatest player of all time contention, fight with LeBron, fight with Jordan for greatest of all time. And I know I'm biased. I know I'm wearing a Luka Doncic jersey. Okay, I get it.
No,
I get it.
I'm gonna have to dispute you on this, Audie. I feel
Look,
like
I
okay,
disagree
so
as well.
I had this opinion about Luca had that potential earlier in his career, but with the way that his career trajectory has gone, like unless something completely astronomical works out, like or like happens in the next few years, like Luca's really looking towards that top 10, top 15 spot if he has a good career from here on out. Unless he like completely dominates the league and has like wins 3 to 5 more championships basically, but like probably 4 or 5, like even 3 is probably not good enough to get into that GOAT discussion. So like I feel also the conversation surrounding Luca compared to the conversation surrounding Wemby was pretty different. Like when Luca came into the league, there were a lot of doubts by Western fans about, or sorry, like American fans about like how good Luca was actually going to be. They said like, oh, he could do it in Europe, but like, can he actually do it in like in the NBA? Where I feel like with Wemby, it was never really like that question. It was always going to be like Wemby's going to dominate. Wemby's going to be the best player in this draft, and like Wemby's going to be the best. And I feel that's a little bit more apt for MDB, where it like I think for players that came before MDB, there were like a few other Smogon players that had come where the question was more about like can they make that transition, but like at the discourse more around that time was like less about can they make that jump and more like yeah, if you're actually really good, then you'll be really good.
I think we're a little biased as Michael's friends, though. Like, I don't think everyone assumed he was just going to be the GOAT. The other thing is like Luca's not gonna be the GOAT unless like there's huge advances in medicine. Like they give him HGH or some shit. He's gonna retire in like 5 years, bro. Like
I
there's
mean,
no
No
way.
say the
way.
same
That is
thing about
not
Wemby
true.
too, right? Like his body
No,
is
that's
not meant to.
different. Luca himself has said that he doesn't want to play for as long as LeBron. That's what like someone was saying like, oh, right now you're on par for like having like scoring levels like the crazy, and he's like, I'm not even gonna play close to as long as that. Looking at his just general work ethic too, like I mean, don't get me wrong, he's extremely healthy because he's a professional athlete, but I just don't think he's gonna play like 20 years in the league. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
That's
he'll
fair.
probably play like 15 years, I feel, but
Yeah,
Well, we'll see.
maybe I don't know.
We don't know, but I think that yeah, saying that Luka Doncic, if he continues his upward trajectory, is in contention to be the GOAT in the GOAT discussion. Obviously, he needs to continue to get better and not stay at the level where he is right now. But I don't
He's
know,
a
like
better defense, bro.
yeah, I mean that's part of it, right? And that's part of the thing he's working on. We'll see. I don't know. Obviously, I'm a huge homer. I'm a huge Michael Derbesti fan too, so that plays into it as well. But yeah. Does Michael complain to the refs enough? Have you watched Michael Derbesti stream? You should watch a Michael Derbesti stream. He is, yeah, or watch his YouTube videos. He complains like Luca does too. Just check his Twitter. Like, all right. Next player we got Victor Tviv Medina, 3-time International top cut, top 8 at the World Championships in 2023. And yes, obviously Roxon is going to be next. That's why he's in the same photo. I'm using the same photo for both of them. Who's got a comp for Tviv?
I'm trying to think, to be honest, just because it's just such a recent ascension, truly as like one of the best players. I don't know. He could be a Jalen Brunson type, you know?
Oh,
Well, so
I like
Victor,
that comp in
here's the thing.
chat,
It's
actually.
not actually a recent ascension. He was a senior in 2018 and was top cutting internets and top cutting I think worlds as a senior as well. And then when he aged up, I think he aged up in 2019, and so I'm not sure how he did then. But and then the pandemic happened, right? So he didn't really have as much of a chance. But like the pandemic kind of skews with our perceptions of him because it wasn't kind of out of nowhere. He was actually a very good senior as well.
Then maybe he is Jason Tatum. Like I think Burns kind of touched on it. I think him and Roxon could be Jalen and Jason and Jalen straight up.
Okay, I like
I
that.
I also don't know who's better between the two. I think they're both like some of the best players in the world.
That's the thing is that they and I'll hop over to Roxon up next.
I was
But
talking about Torviv and Roxon, not
no,
Jalen and
no, I
Jason
got
when I
you.
said.
Where you're trying to figure out who's who, right? But
Yeah.
but
And the
Vic,
Tatum and Brown one I like.
Tor,
I
Tor,
like the Gasol brothers as well. I like that one.
yeah, that's where I was
Um,
going. Yeah, they're both Spanish, right? So that contributes. They're not brothers, but they T-bill together. They're constantly seen together. You can see that here. It's interesting because comparing the results, Tviv is more consistent. He got top 8 at Worlds and he got 3 international top cuts. He feels like he's always in contention for top cut. Whereas Roxon has actually won a regional, which is not something Tviv has done. And also top cut worlds, but has not had the same consistency of finishes. So he had the higher highs in his career, but not necessarily the same consistency. And so I had Tviv as Marcus All, who I believe never won a championship. In the same way that Tviv hasn't won one yet.
no, he won one with the Raptors
Oh,
in
he won with the
2019.
Raptors. Oh, right, I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah, and he was a very key piece on that team. Like
Dude, he
it
was
was a big
solid.
reason.
Yeah,
He was a
yeah.
big reason why they won that championship.
I love
But
Grizzlies
okay.
Gasol.
Maybe it could
But
go
still-
either way then. But I like the
you
Gasol
could
brothers.
still say that because the Gasol, like Mark has only won one and Pal has won two, so
Mhm.
you could still
Wait, this
use the
just-
same argument.
Reminded me, Soheb might have been Mike Conley because he's so nice
Ooh, okay.
and like never won. You know what I'm saying? But it's always been really good on really good teams. Because I just think of the Grizzlies right now.
Yeah, I could see the
Yeah.
Conley.
And then so Roxon, the other one of the Spanish brothers, one of two sets of Spanish players who are basically brothers. Yeah, top 16 at Worlds, top 8 at NAIC, Liverpool regional champion. All this past year, crazy year, and of course, like I said, I had him as Pau Gasol, who had maybe a little higher highs in his career, but didn't necessarily have the same consistency that Marc Gasol did. I guess Pau actually was also very, very consistent over the course of his career.
But you spelled Pau wrong.
Did I spell Pau wrong?
Chen Pao.
It's
so Pokemon filled in.
It's PAU, bro.
Listen,
Pau was like one of my favorite players growing up for sure. He was
Same with Antonio, man.
Those Lakers teams. But
I mean, I do like this comp quite a bit, actually. I just think maybe personally, I'm also again biased in thinking Tviv and Roxanne are like better players, but no disrespect to the legends of the Gasol brothers.
Yeah,
they're also young, right? So it's like tough to.
The Gasol brothers are great players.
100%.
All right. So that is all the tubbers. The only thing I also want to do is I want to do the Derrick Rose comp because people were asking about it. And people keep talking about Embiid in chat, and literally my Embiid comp is up next, but I don't want to do it because we have to get to cut it off at some point. So let me go grab the. You want to do the Embiid comp?
I just want to see who.
You have my list, right?
God. Yeah.
All right. So let me pull it up because for I'm trying to skip all these. We're gonna have a second stream. We'll go through all these. I had a lot of fun doing these. I spent all day just making player comps. So hold up, I'm almost there. Where's my Derrick Rose? It's at the very ending. Oh God, how do I skip?
Who's Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons it's disrespectful, man. We can't be calling people Ben Simmons.
All right.
Nah, I'll find out, people. I just gotta scroll through my Twitter ads and then figure it out.
This is gonna be a two-parter. Yeah, it's like 11:40 here. We've been going for 3 hours, and we're a little over halfway done. So I don't think we are going to be able to finish this. But I think it'd be fun to do another one if y'all are down.
Karis thinks comparing anyone to Simmons would be bullying. Dude, we have John Stockton and Karl Malone comps. Like, chill.
Justin, you're gonna have to watch the VODs because we did some bullying. and all right. Derrick Rose, of course, won the MVP. Had one of the best. Just one of the most explosive players at the time. And then he got hurt real bad. And he still plays. He's still around in the league. He's a role player. He was a very solid sixth man on the Timberwolves. Now I think he actually just got cut from an NBA roster, but a little older now. But it's pretty impressive that he transitioned from the superstar role after an injury to accepting that he may not have the highest highs, same athleticism, and still found a place in the NBA. And Moxie Boosted requested this, and also Gary, if you have a request as well, we can get to your request as well. Anyone got Derrick Rose comps?
Well, usually we're doing it the other way around, so
I know, but I wanted to do it this way, so I don't know because Marcos asked, and I already had it planned out this way.
Maybe who still plays that's just like not. I don't know. I guess like I don't know. I don't want to be insulting to anyone who still plays and is trying their best.
Damn.
What if they're not
I have
trying
no idea. I know very little about old.
I'd have to pick a homie, bro. Like I don't know.
All right, I'll do mine. Because I think we talked about this. I think we talked about this at Worlds. I don't know who I was talking about it to, because I talked to a couple different people about these sort of things. I had Chase Libert as my Derrick Rose.
Oh, that's good.
Because Chase,
I could see it.
Chase won U.S. Nationals in, I want to say, 2015. Was definitely one of the strongest players at the time. And then ever since then, I don't know if he's done much. I think 2016 he did okay, but like, I don't think he's done much of anything since then. But he's been around. He shows up to events, but he shows up to events to hang out with his friends, as you can see with Alberto and Gio and Riley. Super chill dude. Like, he's great to hang out with. He still makes day 2 at events. He made day 2 at San Antonio Regionals. But like, he's like,
I played him at NAIC.
Yeah, I played him my first NAIC back in 2018. Like, he's been around the entire time. Just hasn't really, like, I don't know, just been enjoying life, I guess. Hasn't really been trying to focus on VGC as much. And so, I think it follows a very similar career trajectory, even though obviously no real same thing as getting injured like Derrick Rose did, in terms of the highest highs and then sort of a mediocre but consistent play ever since then.
I actually think this is honestly maybe a perfect comparison. Also because the MVP season was kind of out of nowhere, and the championship win. So ESM, if you don't know, he won in 2016 U.S. Nationals. Mm-hmm. And he used an outdated team that Conan made well, it wasn't really outdated. It was just an older team. It was very standards earned on, all things considered. But he didn't make any changes, and he just played better than everyone day of. I mean, our friend Trailer might have thrown just a tiny bit in finals. But no, I think this is a good comp, and he did exactly like he still shows up. I'm sure he got injured in that time, so something like that.
All right. So with that, we have so again, like I said, I had 63 of these planned out. And we got through 30 something of them. Let's see, we got to number 37 on my list. So we have a whole 20 something to go, and we're not going to get them done tonight because we've been going for like 3 hours already. So I think that what we're going to do is
longer than I thought.
If people like this, and it seems like people did like this, we'll try to do part 2, and that one will only have 25 or so it might not be nearly as long. And then we'll hopefully, if y'all have requests again, we can try to do requests as well. Where's the full list? You're gonna have to wait and see. Don't worry, Justin. You are on the list. We will get to you. And if you think we've insulted everyone, just wait. So the biggest insults are yet to come. I promise you that.
That's true.
We got Cassie coming up next time. So, all right. So I'm going to. Who are we rating tonight? Is anyone streaming tonight?
Looks like MDB streaming.
Is MDB still streaming? Dude, what the heck, man? He was streaming before. He's been streaming for like 12 hours. This is what it takes to be
Mark's also streaming, but MDB's the homie.
Bro, this is what it takes to be the GOAT. I don't know how MDB is streaming. He was streaming Ranbats, and now he's streaming like best of 3 tour, prepping. I don't know if he's prepping or if he's just like playing it for fun, but he's going to Dortmund regionals this weekend. 6 hours, jeez, and we were complaining about 3.5. He's
9-1.
Yeah, dude, my head.
All right, go say hi to MDB. Go wish him luck at Dortmund, and yeah, we're gonna head off. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Again, this will be up on YouTube tomorrow. So if you missed any of this, you can watch the entire stream up on YouTube tomorrow, and then make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Because if you show our support, we will definitely go back to part 2. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I definitely want to do part 2 as well.